further up, which will be sat here for 2 hours before we get to it. Okay. Before we start, I have to. Right. Most popular thing we've ever had, not right, before we start, we are being recorded, we are being streamed online, so if I could ask you all to contribute positively and try not to say things that might upset anybody viewing. It would make our lives easier. Right. We normally start with members of the public who are invited to comment, but as most of you are here for item 14.
Sorry, it's important to actually get several items. So
yeah, I was just going to come to that and say that I'm going to invite people to comment, but if it's about the crematorium, please wait until we get to that item.
Yeah.
So, is there anybody that would like to comment on anything that isn't Dorothy?
Yeah, this place up at Stratton you bought, how much are you spending on it? Because this is our money, and you lot are throwing it around like confetti.
we know what we paid for it, and you know what we paid for it.
I haven't heard it. Just leave out. How much did you pay for it?
Yeah. 275, I think. Yeah.
275. So how much more are you going to be spending on it?
Well, I think I've answered this to you before, Darcy. It's an old building.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot. Yeah. If you ask me a question, please let me finish. A lot of work needs doing to it, and we don't know the extent of that work until some of the contractors get in there to assess it. So I cannot give you a definitive figure because I simply don't know the answer.
Right.
We are going to. Yeah, there is going to be a budget. There is going to be significant investment in the building to bring it up to standards, both from the point of view of safe habitation,
Yeah.
but also fit in with the green policies and everything like that. And at the end of the day, Marky, the people of Stratton asked us to save their post office.
I'm not surprised. Yeah,
We saved their post office, and we've got 3, possibly 4 properties above that once renovated will be nice, affordable homes for local people, or that is the intention. But I cannot give you a final figure on what that will be.
That I accept, but at the end of the day, how close are you going to get to bankrupt in this council?
On that, no, we don't.
You sure? Because once you start spending money on these old places, it just goes on and on and on.
Well, look, I haven't got a crystal ball, and I cannot say categorically that something drastic won't go wrong. But if it goes effectively to the plan, it's not going to bankrupt.
Right.
We will end up with a community asset for use by local people. People are streaming out homes in this town, and we have invested in a building that will hopefully provide that long term at an affordable rate rather than a commercial rate by somebody owning, property for profit. Happy?
So far, yeah. Yeah.
Do you have another question?
Well, yeah. Are we going to be subsidising? You're going to be subsidising that for the rest of history then?
So,
Well, if you were going to affordable rent and all this and that, so you're going to be obviously putting money to it every year. The rents won't cover what the cost will be, will it, to get your money back? Which is obviously why no private person took it on, because they knew they couldn't make any money out of it.
we're not trying to make money out of it.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, right. We haven't bought it to make profit.
No, but
We
I'm
bought
saying,
it as a community asset. If we pay 275 for it and we renovate it up to a modern standard, and it then becomes worth $500,000, we've got an asset worth $500,000. And we've also got a post office for the locals of Stratton, and we've got flats for people to live in at an affordable rate. That rent would be set to maintain the building,
right,
not
so,
make a profit from it.
but it's not going to cost us anything, is what I'm trying to get at.
That would be the intention, yeah. I mean, like I said, I haven't got, somebody's got fire or something in there. Well, no, I can't guarantee this, but the intention is that it will not be a long-term drain on resources.
Right, that's all right then.
Okay?
Yeah, what the board shall do.
Is that your questions done?
That's for now.
Fantastic. Is there anything else for the question, not about the crematory? Chris? No.
The recently vacated caretaker's house, which is on the end of these
Yeah.
premises. In view of what you've been saying about accommodation in Stratton, I hope they will treat that premise in the same way. Maybe not necessarily, it should be in quite a good condition because obviously it was one of your properties and would have been looked after. That you either do it yourself or give it to a housing association so that a family can live in it. Because when your previous caretaker come, his youngest son was about 18 months old.
Yeah,
He's now a fully grown man working in Bristol.
he's been with us a long time.
Yes.
He has.
So if you would consider that, I think that's what the town people would like you to do.
I mean, we haven't made a
No, I
decision
know.
on what we're going to do
Well, I
with it
hope
long
you-
term, but I would imagine that would definitely be one of the
I hope so.
options under consideration, Chris. But yeah, thanks for the suggestion. We've got a meeting on Thursday. Apparently we've got a meeting about it on Thursday. I don't need an answer.
Probably.
Right.
Yes, so I'm the transition view representative of the town team. I know there's a town team, items this evening, the town team for like 2.5 years. I've had like 15 different company structures in various different ways. I'm massively confused about what's going on. So I just wanted to pass on advice that if in doubt, if you're confused in certain situations, let us do nothing at all. Just let the town team kind of bring some proposals to you for debates. Would be my suggestion. That's my suggestion. I'm hoping to help a fellow team member through a legal quagmire that I've been stuck in before. So.
Okay, right. Thank you for that. Yes, we are talking about that. Item 16, so we've got a while to go, but any other questions not related to the crematorium? No? Cool. In that case, to receive apologies and accept reasons for non-attendance.
Yes, so we've received apologies from councillors Brogan, Turner and Browning for who have work commitments. Councillor Moore, his personal commitment, as does Councillor Lewis, and Councillor Deering is unwell.
Okay, thank you. Peter,
Councillor Tilby rang me just before the meeting started, or just as I was about to leave home, and asked me to tender his apologies.
Okay, thank you. To receive any declarations of interest on items on the agenda. Peter.
I need to declare a non-registered interest in agenda item 15 as I'm a director of the Area Tourist Board.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay, right. I'm gonna play fast and loose with the agenda now. We're gonna move item 14 up to now. So item 14, this is yours, Tom, I believe, to resolve that in view of the recent judicial review decision relating to the planning application for a crematorium at Town South, that the council opposes the planning application on the grounds of concerns highlighted by the judicial review. Would you like to say anything about it? It's your.
Oh, I've had lots to say, but I did wonder if you wanted to ask members of the public.
Well, I think if you tell us why you brought it here, and then I'll bring the people in. Because
Right, thank you. Well, very simply, this has been going on for quite some time, and I think it's fair to say that there's been a bit of a lack of transparency about the position of this town council. I sympathise actually with the councillors who say, well, why are we getting involved? Well, why did we get involved 3 years ago? And unfortunately, we did, and we are where we are, as the saying goes. And I don't want this to turn out, into personal in any way, shape, or form. But this council was represented at a strategic planning committee meeting 12 months ago, where the planning application was approved, which has been found to have been unlawful on 7 grounds, total 7 grounds. So that's why. So
Point of order, I don't think this council was represented at that meeting.
I'll have something to say about that in a minute.
you spoke and mentioned the fact you were a good stand back.
No, I meant very clear, I spoke as a Cornwall councillor.
Yeah, but you mentioned that you were on the planning committee of this council.
In response to a question.
No, please don't shout out. Excuse me, though. The way this works is everything comes through me. Sorry to interrupt, Tom. That's okay. Probably, right? If you shout out, we completely lose control of this meeting. If you put your hand up, I will acknowledge you and give you a chance to speak. If you consistently interrupt our meeting, I will ask you to leave. Okay? Those are the rules. I'm quite happy for every single person in here to have their say, but I want everybody else to be able to hear them. And I couldn't hear what the councillor who was speaking said then. So.
Yeah, well, we don't need to get caught up on this one, but to anybody listening, it was apparent that Bude-Stratton Council was fully supportive of the planning application. It was found to have been unlawful on a total of 7 grounds, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but I've highlighted 3 that I feel are quite important. And our material planning, obviously material planning considerations. The first one I've highlighted, and this is something that objectors were highlighting for a very long time, was the issue of viability. And in fact, the applicants themselves, in 2 pre-planning advice applications, committed to, they said they would, the applicants recognise the need to prepare and submit a business case and evidential report in support of the detailed planning application twice, 2018, 2019. The planning officer who advised on both of those was Alan Blacklock, who was eventually the planning officer who made a decision to recommend approval. When she advised on it, she said that any application would need to be supported by a robust business case which provides evidence of a need for such a facility within this area. The planning application eventually went on the planning portal, and there was no business case. There was no business case, even if it was confidential, there was no business case submitted. And the planning officer, Alan Blacklock, who had previously advised the need for a evidence of a robust business case, said that basically it's ultimately considered to be a matter of commercial interest for the business case, rather than meaning she didn't see it as a material planning consideration. The judge obviously threw that out and said it's non-electric viability is a material consideration for a number of reasons. One is the fact that if it's Greenfield side, we know what happened in Holsworthy. Greenfield side got planning permission for a crematorium. The crematorium proved non-viable, or it was not starter. So the site became a brownfield site, and is now the site in Holsworthy is now a livestock market. The other reason actually for objecting on viability grounds, and was again highlighted by many of the objectors, and the judge picked up on it as not surprisingly as well, was that if you do, and a lot of people do think that we should have a crematorium nearer to us than Barnstable Bowman, but if you do, if there is that need, if you grant planning permission for one at Poundstock that it turns out to be non-viable, will you actually prevent any possibility of one anywhere else? Because, well, there's planning permission for one at Poundstock. There's no point in the planning permission anywhere else. So that those are 2, I think, fairly substantial issues. The viability issue was so important. The second reason that ground for quashing the planning application or the planning permission, which is one I think that councillors here would be concerned about, being environmentally conscious, and that was a table produced by the planning officer herself that suggested there would be a saving in the, saving in the carbon output, or carbon footprint. But the trouble with that was that she only took 5 population centres closest to the crematorium. Bude come from Launceston, and of course they would provide about 50% of the claimed throughput that the applicants claimed in the doing. So about 500, I think. No, it's less than that. But anyhow, about 50%. So the others would be coming from a lot longer distances. So she didn't calculate the carbon footprint of those, which could, and the most serious kind of comment by the judge was relating to that particular item, where he said it was seriously misleading. That's fairly strong language to say that the planning officer had been seriously misleading. So then and obviously these are material planning considerations. The third one I'm going to mention, and having been either a member of the planning committee here or sat in a lot of meetings, the scale of developments is always very often comes up, or generally comes up. And again, I don't think anybody's going to dispute that that's a material planning consideration. But so just to put this into context, there's a new crematorium will be opened adjacent to Plymouth next year. It is to replace the existing facilities at Westmill and Effort, which are going to be shut down. The two between them already they carry out about 3,000 crematorium cremations a year. So the new facility would be expected to cope with that sort of numbers. The building there is 1,386 square meters, and it is costing in the region of £29 million. Now, the proposal at Poundstock, where I think it would be optimistic to think that they will do 600. I think 600 is fairly. So 20% of what the Plymouth facility will be doing will be the number expected at Poundstock. But the building there is, the proposed building is 1,785 square meters. So you have a facility that will be doing best 20% of what Plymouth will be doing, but the building will be 30% larger. So the scale of that, and this of course is relevant to the viability issue, because if you're going to spend that much on a facility to carry out 3,000 commissions, how much is a building 30% larger going to cost? For a fifth of the throughput. So on those 3 grounds, for those 3 reasons, I think that the council should oppose this planning application. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tom. I thought you might have.
Well, there's probably plenty to say, but I just want to rebut a claim that Councillor O'Sullivan made, that this authority, Bude-Stratton Town Council, was represented at the Strategic Planning Committee. I mean, I don't think it's neither here nor there whether they were or weren't, but they weren't. And I want to read out to you the opening line of the speech that I made actually at that committee meeting. And I said, "I'm Peter LeBroy, representing the adjoining division of Bude, speaking in support of the application." Okay, so that at no point did I say I was a Bude-Stratton Town Councillor. As part of the meeting process, Mrs. Watton suggested in her speech that Bude-Stratton Town Council was against the application, And I signalled to the chairman at the time saying, can I raise a point of order? But because I wasn't a member of the committee, I wasn't allowed that point of order, quite rightly so. I didn't understand that, it was my error. However, one of the councillors on the committee later questioned me and said, have you heard anything in this meeting that you think is in error? And I actually wrote down a piece that I probably didn't read it out precisely, but I was questioned. And this is the explanation that I intended to give. Mrs. Watton in her speech suggested that Bude-Stratton Town Council was against the application. This isn't the case. An initial consultation performed by the application, the planning committee in informal session was quite supportive of the idea. However, it became quickly evident that this would become a highly emotive application, and the council took a decision not to attempt to influence an application in the adjoining parish. In fact, no formal position was actually taken by this council.
Can I respond?
You may respond.
Yeah, actually, it's because this council, the planning committee did actually pass a resolution.
I've got them all here.
Yeah, the planning committee did at the meeting of 25th of March, 2021. The agenda item was to discuss the town council's position on the planning application for controlling neighbours of the council and make any appropriate resolutions on that. It was resolved that the town clerk write to Common Council to make it clear that BSCC has never supported this application.
So that's not what it says in the minutes.
Well, yes.
The minutes were had to be corrected. And this is what appears.
If you just give me a sec. Obviously, I wasn't in this meeting, but the minutes note that you left the meeting, obviously because you had an interest. A resolution was then made that does not tally up with what you just read out, and then you rejoined the meeting. So
I'm reading to you from what is on the planning program.
my one says the town clerk writes to CC to state that the planning committee feel that they have been misrepresented in consultation feedback document when quoted as giving its full support for the application.
And when it came to the
That's BSTC's
no,
official position.
sorry, when it came to approving those minutes at the next meeting, they were altered because they were found to have been wrong. And
Have I been handed the wrong minute?
no, the minutes of the meeting of the later meeting, where those minutes were approved,
Yeah.
they were approved subject to the deletion of two amendments.
Yeah, okay, obviously I cannot.
I can find it here for you.
What I would like to note on before I open this up to the entire room is why is a full council in Bude being asked to get involved in a planning application for another parish?
Because the Bude-Stratton Council is already involved. It wasn't me who asked the council to get involved. It was the former mayor, Bob Willington, who raised this issue under correspondence at a meeting in November 2020.
Yeah, I've got that one here. Correspondence has been received from Atlantic View Crematorium Consortium inviting feedback for the proposed crematorium and memorial garden at Widmouth in the Palmstock parish. Discussion took place. The CA was requested to reply to the consultation. The planning committee were unanimously in favour of.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you noticed there was no resolution.
Well, no, because we haven't taken a. This is my point, Tom. Is this council has not got an official position on it, and you are now asking us to take one.
The council does have an official because there was a resolution at a planning committee meeting on the 25th of March 2001, and it was resolved.
Is full council vote?
No, and this is the whole point. It is a planning application outside of our parish area. If it was to be discussed, it should have been discussed at full council rather than planning committee, because the terms of reference of the planning committee, paragraph 2, says that the planning committee is delegated the decisions on planning
We're
applications.
trying to unpick something that
Within-
happened
sorry?
4 years ago.
Yeah, but sorry, that's why I'm the wording of the the agenda item is to consider in the light of the judicial review. I've been trying to.
You're asking us to support the result of the judicial review, to reject it.
No, I'm asking you to consider the planning application in the light of the decision that was made to, that the planning permission that was granted was found to be unlawful.
Okay,
This is from March, 25th of March 2021 minutes to discuss the council's position on the plan application for the crematorium in the neighbouring parish of Padstock and make any appropriate resolutions on the matter. The committee discussed the consultation review from Atlantic and Crematorium Consortium in November 2020, inviting feedback for the proposed crematorium and the memorial garden at Woodmere, Padstock Parish. The BSTC Planning Committee, whilst understanding that the proposed application did not come within the Bude-Stratton boundary and therefore would not be consulted on any forthcoming full application and did not want to override any decision made by Padstock Parish Council. However, they did reply to the consultation. Bude-Stratton Town Council Planning Committee would welcome crematorium viewed area. It would be a great benefit and convenience to local grieving families. The committee appreciate the design concept and layout of the proposal. The committee felt it would also benefit the climate ambitions of Bude-Stratton Town Council and surrounding parishes. The committee appreciated the tree planting scheme on the application and therefore you asked for this, would ask for there to be a possibly incorporated a natural burial ground in the proposed application. Lengthy discussion took place. The chairman allowed members of the public to speak. Resolved that the town clerk write to Cornwall Council to state the planning committee feel that they are being misrepresented in the consultation feedback document when it was quoted as giving its full support to the application, which he did.
Yeah, well, can I just mention the fact that at the subsequent meeting on the 15th of April 2021, the item approving the minutes, it says that to receive, confirm and sign minutes of the planning committee meeting held on the 25th of March 2021. Resolved that the minutes with the alterations to the accuracy of resolution for whatever and the insertion of a declaration of interest from Councillor Moore that was relating to another meeting are true accurate record. But so, and it goes on to say the alterations were to strike through all of the preamble of on PL /62/621 and resolutions to read. Resolved that the town clerk write to Cornwall Council to make clear that BSCC has never supported this application. The letter should make clear that BSCC's support in principle for a crematorium in the area was not an endorsement of this particular development.
okay.
That's from the
I
minutes
think
of the 20th.
we've probably done enough unpicking of this that I'm willing to go through. We're half an hour into this meeting now. And we're going to be here all night dealing with something that, quite honestly, I don't feel is our responsibility to deal with.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
I've come to this meeting specifically to talk about this crematorium application. I was at the judicial review and I was at the strategic committee meeting. Now, I think what I've written here gives
so
you,
could I just ask you one question? And probably I'll throw this open to the room. Do any of you think Bude-Stratton Town Council should be making this decision on your behalf?
they've already.
Sorry, that's not my question. We are being asked to support or go against that planning application here tonight. That is what we have been asked to resolve.
And four parish councils have already voted and opposed this application. That's what this motion is for.
With
to
four
oppose-
parish councillors here.
Pardon?
With
Four parish councils.
four parish councils, okay. Katie, then Kevin, oh, sorry, Peter, you go, yeah, you go.
It was just in response to something Councillor O'Sullivan said, because when he was saying that the town council wrote to the office saying that we didn't support the application, the intent was to make it clear that we didn't support the application. What he didn't say is we didn't object to it either. So it's a neutral position. I think it's important.
You did.
Yeah, you're making an objection.
Right. Like I said, I'm not willing to spend too much more time going over a 4-year-old argument, right?
So, and I wanted to move it on to the judicial review and that we are where we are And I think
Well, that's what we're now gonna do, is move it on to
the
what
town
this
council has
council
been
decides
dragged,
tonight.
has been dragged into this already, and that, you know, I wouldn't be asking for this to be on the agenda tonight if it wasn't for the fact that the town council has, and whether councillor Leroy was actually representing the town council at the strategic planning committee or not, to anybody there listening, Bude-Stratton Town Council was in favour of this planning.
That's one, and then we all move
This
on.
is really important because I was
Yeah.
reported to the standards board, for the speech that I made in there, and the standards board found me not guilty.
Right,
So-
no, please sit down.
You've got to hear it through. Come on, we've all come here to sort this out.
And we come here to deal with you construction town council
Yeah.
18
Yes,
page agenda
exactly.
item. All right, and we're 30 minutes in on item 1. Katie,
As someone who doesn't have any relationship to Crownstock whatsoever, and who has obviously been fresh on this council, since some of these events too, I strongly believe that we should be obviously looking forward and being exactly, like, really obviously consistent. And part of that is looking in the past, you can do a post-mortem. That would be an option for you to be looking at. And then looking into the future, I strongly believe that we should be having no opinions on any like planning application that is very much not in our area. Because I'd be very worried if a neighbouring area would start to counter anything that happens on the sea pool or anything that happens around the skate park because they happen to use those areas.
Yeah.
So I would strongly believe that we should stay. Well, not even, it's not even just not have a formal opinion as a town council.
fair enough. Kevin,
I take a diametrically opposed view to Katie. I think Bude does have skin in the game. Skin in the game in 2 ways. If one of your relatives were to pass away tomorrow, your choice is if you want a cremation or voting with Barnstable or Bodmin, both of which are a long way away. And as somebody who has unfortunately had to visit both of those crematoria, it would be a lot better for grieving families to have a crematorium much more accessible to you. So yeah, we do have skin in the game as a community. We also have skin in the game as far as the environment of our area is concerned. And lots of people who come from outside of the parishes locally will associate that plot of ground where the crematorium was intended to be built as part of Bude. They will look upon it as one of the reasons to come to this area. And as a council which promotes tourism and promotes the natural environment, I think we do have skin in the game that we perhaps would not want that particular part of our local area developed, more traffic coming down the A39, etc., etc. So I reject the idea that this council and indeed the wider community doesn't have skin in the game. So I think it is in order for us as a council to take an opinion, and I would endorse the resolution this evening.
Thank you.
I asked Councillor Sullivan, kind of as a matter of information, this is just my ignorance sort of. Since the judicial review, what is the current state of the planning application? Is it kind of in limbo, or
No.
has it come forward again, or has it now been rejected, or what's the situation?
The answer to that question is that it has been returned to the awaiting decision category. So if you look on the planning portal, it says awaiting decision, because that planning permission was quashed. But the planning application itself is still valid, still a valid, and it has to be redetermined or the applicants withdraw it.
To do it, so it's interesting.
Yeah,
Do
that's-
we know, do we know kind of what their feeling is now, or what's going to happen, or we just have to-
Personally, I don't know, but all I know is that it has been returned to
the way?
awaiting decision. So it's still awaiting a decision. Another decision has been made. I can tell you from precedent that what normally happens is the officer amends the report, produces an amended report, and it goes back to the planning committee.
Right.
Maybe Councillor Bryan will have.
No.
Sorry.
No, but obviously I don't want to get back into that. Right, I don't know any of your names, so I'm just going to have a point.
If it's relevant, because I-
Yeah, you're a councillor, all right. You can come in after. Go on.
I'm sorry. Nick.
Yeah. Okay.
I suspect what I'm about to say will be unpopular with lots of people in this room. But I will speak now as a Bude-Stratton Town Councillor. Now, as a lot of people in this room know, I'm also a Poundstock Parish Councillor, as is Councillor O'Sullivan. And I don't think anybody in this room could doubt my commitment to the campaign against that crematorium. But people who have turned up to Poundstock Parish Council will know that I stated that I thought that the crematorium was a good idea for the local area, but that Poundstock was entirely the wrong place, particularly the place where it was been suggested to be. And like Councillor O'Sullivan, I have a fairly good idea of the technical ins and outs of it all, and quite clearly, in my opinion, the Committee of Cornwall Council made the wrong decision, which the judicial review quite clearly pointed out a whole bunch of reasons why that was so. And so I fully believe that absolutely there should not be a crematorium in that area of Poundstock, full stop, for all the reasons that we know, for all the technical reasons that we know. But I'm not sitting here today as a Poundstock Parish Councillor. I'm sitting here today as the Bude-Stratton Town Councillor representing Stratton Ward. And I have to say to you fundamentally, Bude-Stratton Town Council should not have a view on on a planning decision in Poundstock. I think that sets a dangerous precedent. I really do. I think the fundamental argument right at the start of this was that actually somebody wanted Bude-Stratton Town Council to take a view. And the argument that was won was that Bude-Stratton Town Council should not take a view. And so while I personally, as a resident of Poundstock and as a Poundstock Parish Councillor, am totally against that crematorium, I have to say to you, I cannot support this proposal in any way, because I just think that it is wrong for this town council to take a view on a piece of planning in Poundstock. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you very much. Right.
One more, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to speak, please.
Yeah, I'm going to give members of the audience a chance to speak now. Obviously, there are a lot of you, and this is meant to be a 2-hour meeting. I fear we're going to be extending it considerably. So if I could ask you to, if you're going to repeat something that somebody previously said, just keep it short and sweet, please. Otherwise, we'll never get out of here tonight.
Okay.
I don't know anyone's name, so I'm just going to point. I'm not being rude.
Chairman, councillors, in view of this controversial item on your agenda, I'd just like to make these observations before councillors present discuss the matter before the vote started. I refer to the crematorium proposal of judicial review, which I attended, sitting for 3 days at the Royal Court of Justice in London, when the High Court judge found 9 grounds on which he quashed the decision, which was almost unprecedented. For those councillors who are not familiar with this application, I'll explain some background information. At the Strategic Committee meeting November 22, 2022, Councillor Former councillor Boyd made a personal representation on behalf of the applicants, but it was also stated he was representing the adjoining division of Bude.
So,
Sorry.
point of order.
Yeah.
I did not make a personal representation on behalf of the applicants. It's a point of order.
Yeah, it is a point of order. No,
All right, I withdraw the applicants. He made.
we're not going around this room doing ad hominem attacks on anyone sat around this table. This is not how this works.
It's not an attack.
Actually, you should know that.
There are rules about how things work in this chamber, okay? I am not going to sit here and adjudicate on what isn't a fact in a meeting that I did not attend. We need to make a decision.
You've got to listen to people.
Well, I am listening to people that are from a parish that I don't represent.
I'm from a parish here in Bude, and you do represent.
You're-
So if you would.
Yeah, what I'm asking you, sir, is, I opened with, please keep it short and sweet. We know the background. What I want to know is, what is your salient point to our decision?
Right, well, two councillors promoted this right at the start,
Right.
okay? What councillor Boy omitted to say to the strategic committee was that 3 months later, March 21, and you've heard this, a resolution was passed by 5 votes and 1 abstention, which stated that Bude-Stratton Town Council never supported the application at this location and been misrepresented by the applicants. Now, even the verbal resolution was changed after the meeting. The word location was removed and the word development put in. Because I sat in on this Zoom meeting with the council. Councillor LeBroy's omission indicated that Bude-Stratton Town Council were in support of this application at the committee, and I believe unduly influenced the members. He also stated that Bude-Stratton Town Council did not come to a formal decision.
It's not true.
It is true.
Right.
We were there.
I'm not going to carry on doing it.
Right,
I've
let's
given
go
them-
to the High Court then, shall we?
You take it to the High Court. That's fine.
No, no,
Right
I'm
now,
saying-
I'm in the High Court in this room.
Right, at the High Court, the judge was highly critical to the misrepresentation of facts on many issues, and in particular the case officer's report, as it was one-sided in favour of the applicants. My request to Bude-Stratton Town Council is to review this judgment, fully understand the harm of the landscape and the requirement for there to be an overriding need for this development in this specific location. I should add that this proposed crematorium building at Poundstock Richmond Bay, supporting approximately 25 to 28,000 people at Cortez time speed, is the size of the one being built in Plymouth for about 300,000 people. It was wrong. Commonwealth Council failed to understand their own development plan. They were going to scout 14 acres, re-engineer it, and build bundles, walls to you, about 3 to 4 meters high.
Built up natural defence.
Yeah, okay. We now have the Cornwall Council planning decision which was irrational and wrong. They failed to understand their own development plan, failed to validate the applicant's submissions, erred in law, and appear to have tried to fit their narrative of the application to suit themselves, just because the land was available, thus ignoring the irreparable damage it would cause. On the other side, we have the result of the judicial review, where the judge quashed this on 9 grounds. We are waiting a redetermination, and it is possible another wrong decision will be made, resulting in another judicial review. Knowing all the facts, I hope you will support Poundstock Parish Council and oppose this application as our 4 neighbouring parish councils. It was mentioned that the journey was torturous to Bolton or Barnstable. Travel inconvenience to other crematoriums is not a material consideration, but viability and landscape harm, among other things, are material considerations. We were even told that the Brian's Funeral Services behind the application were not interested in profit. It is a bit of an understatement to say that this was treated with supply for the public present. In summing up, I'm left with 2 notable comments about this application. One from the architects and the case officer, and I quote, "It is what it is." And another quote from their expert advisor, "It's the best of a bad job." What sort of dismissive comments are these when discussing such controversial planning applications? We live in a remote area and love it for its distinct character. The benefits of living here far outweigh the negatives. The landscape and environment needs to be protected or it will be lost for future generations. Thank you.
Does anybody have anything to add that hasn't already been covered? No. I'm doing crowd interaction on the phone.
Just for 3 minutes, not personal.
Yep, fine.
To put the significance of this judicial review into context, it must be appreciated that judicial review claims are brought in a tiny minority of cases, and a small minority of the few cases which are actually brought get past the permission screening stage to a final hearing. And most of those select few challenges fail. This, in my opinion, is the problem with the planning system, and that councils fear an appeal by the developer with deep pockets more than they fear a judicial review by objectors. It is also important to appreciate that in this case, the applicants and council knew that this one would fail on appeal, and hence the reason they and others did all they could to ensure the committee passed it. The officer's report was found by a High Court to be seriously flawed, significantly misleading, has significant omissions, failed to reach conclusions, ignored material considerations, was inadequate, has significant and serious errors in its interpretation, analysis and advice on its own key policies and in respect of important issues of controversy, and had got itself in a hopeless tangle. Those are the judge's words, not mine. The council solicitor in a pre-application letter stated that objector expert reports were deemed to be not independent by Cornwall Council and were therefore ignored by Cornwall Council. However, the applicant's expert reports, especially on need, were accepted without much scrutiny. The case officer even admitted she had not verified it had been submitted. The High Court held that Cornwall Council had failed to understand the proposal was not viable and did not deal with the consequences of lack of viability for white elephant reasons. The council glossed over the significance of how low the need figures were and the fact that half the catchment area is in the sea. Baisleys were questioned on this point during the consultation process and had very little to say other than it is what it is. This is a critical key point in crematory applications. It is also disappointing that Bryant's funeral directors, who were publicly championing their proposed new crematorium, took no part in the consultation process with Pamstock Parish residents. There are very few, if any, planning cases where so many grounds of challenge have succeeded and where a court has found a planning decision to be so comprehensively wrong. Quite simply, the judgment speaks for itself. The application was not handled in a fair and balanced way. It was simply one-sided and biased. A detailed site assessment should have been carried out, a point the pre-app acknowledged, but were then ignored by the council, to find a best location to meet the maximum need for the community. In response to this, the case officer simply said, the applicant has a different approach. It's not a national company. And she simply said, it simply is what it is. You must also appreciate that none of the large crematory operators are interested in this site, although they are exploring ones towards Launceston. As a lawyer, I stand for objectiveness, honesty, integrity, fairness, and above all, to follow the law. Cornwall Council has been shown by the High Court to comprehensively have failed on all this, and they and some Cornwall councillors should be ashamed of what has gone on. Therefore, I'm asking that you, Stratton Town Council, reiterate to Cornwall Council that your council does not support this application in this location. Do not let yourselves become part of this hopeless tangle, and do not get led astray by those that do not understand the specifics of this very specialist planning application. Thank you.
Your final sentence, don't let ourselves become part of this tangle, probably summed up my feelings. Well, let's see what happens. Katie.
So I'm going to come to a formal proposal. Iterate that we shouldn't have a formal opinion on this matter. We don't get involved in like environmental changes, traffic, or visuals of any other planet our neighbours, even if it has like some sort of culturally significance to our area or damaging effects. and we have a neighbourhood development plan, which is heading into review. So with that in mind, my proposal is Bude-Stratton Town Council is not going to offer a formal position on this matter. And second to that is, as part of our new neighbourhood, what's it called, neighbourhood development plan, that we need to ensure that we're supporting some sort of local afterlife care. Is it or what would be the right term? End of life care. It's not end of life. No, that's.
Beyond our remit, I would say. Point one, fine.
Okay.
It's up to you. What's your proposal?
I propose that the Bude-Stratton Town Council is not going to offer a formal position on this matter.
Point of order. An amendment cannot negate the original.
Yeah.
Can I come back on a few points that I think need to be?
Yeah, I know. Okay, quickly, Tom, and then.
Yeah, this thing about that we can't, that there's no consultation, other councils shouldn't get involved in a planning application in another parish. There was a planning application for a big wind farm development in Weeks Mary several years ago. Several parishes, 7 or 8, not only local parishes, but Torres District Council was consulted and Devon County Council was consulted. So to suggest that we can only talk about planning applications or any council is obliged to only stick to its own area is bonkers. And I'm very surprised actually Councillor Haynes and Councillor Haynes, what Councillor Haynes said, because Councillor Haynes has commented on planning applications in Mountchurch Park, and Park, recently being one of the most recent. There's proposals going on at. Okay, we've got to be consistent here.
So we can do it. The question is, do we want to? And I've never seen such an argument for not getting involved as the one I'm seeing right now.
And as I said right at the start, I would not be asking us to put forward this resolution if it wasn't for the fact that we had been dragged into it.
This looks like a minor thing.
Absolutely, and we've been dragged in.
Well,
and we I think, and
Can I just say something very quick for 1 second?
Mr. Faulkner, I believe, carry on. So I bought a motorbike off you many years ago. Carry on. It went very well, so I'll give you the floor.
Most of the people in this room have lived in Bude,
Yeah.
Stratton, Hounslow. So you're here to represent us as a community. We're not just talking about a boundary line. We're talking about big things. So we want you to represent us.
It's a fair point. And the point I was trying to make it with, if you look at this is dragged on for 4 years now, 5 years now. We're an incredibly busy council. As Darcy pointed out at the beginning, we've taken on a massive project in Stratton that we're trying to run ourselves. We've got a 20-point agenda and I'm 55 minutes into a 2-hour meeting and I'm on item 1. So, what I'm trying to say is it's not that I don't care. Me personally, I think having a crematorium somewhere closer to Bude would be fantastic. Am I willing to tell another parish that they should or shouldn't have it? No.
Wow.
So, that's the thing. And I think it's like a classic referendum question. If you did a referendum and said to all the people of Bude-Stratton, do you support the idea of having a crematorium somewhere near Bude? I think the answer would be overwhelmingly yes. If we said to them specifically, would you like us to put it next to the play park between, or the rugby club, or probably get a very different answer. So I'm not willing to I'm not elected by the people of Hounslow, so I'm not willing to impose or deny their thing.
Can I answer that question? If you ask the people what they think, I did. There was about 400, between 350 and 400 questionnaires returned.
And what did they say, Tom?
Basically, what they said was, yes, they think there should
Which
be.
is what I said they would say.
Yes.
Thank you.
The thing, you haven't let me finish. Can I finish? There was, however, no appetite for a crematorium in this area. What people said was, yes, it would facilitate people, it would be great to have, but there was no credible evidence that there is any support for a crematorium in this area.
Yeah, that's why I said the two questions with the different answers, because I knocked on the same doors and spoke to the same
And how
people.
many people raised the issue of a lack of crematorium with you?
No.
Exactly. No, even though I had made
Which is why
nobody.
which is why I'm trying to make the point, us spending an hour on something that nobody has ever asked about.
But we've, and.
But we're going to move to Katie's proposal. What was your proposal?
Future town council.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Could I- Could I say, I don't know in your standing orders, can you just come up with proposals in the meeting?
No,
You have to put them forward, you have to put motions forward.
That's what we're trying to
So
establish
how
now.
can this councillor suddenly come up with a counter proposal?
We haven't done that, and I haven't accepted it. Peter.
Thank you. Well, that proposal has not been seconded, so at the moment it still lies as a unusable
Yeah.
mechanism. I just wanted to ask through you as the chair to our town clerk, and I've seen this happen before. Is it possible to just leave the agenda item on the table? Because we have used that mechanism before when we couldn't make our minds up on something. And I'm just thinking that our minutes could reflect perhaps the mood of the table was that we didn't want to get involved and leave the agenda item on the table with some explanatory notes behind that.
But you are involved.
You put yourselves in the tangle with it already.
Yeah.
When I approach.
Well, following on from what Councillor Roy said there, because this planning application is now in an awaiting state, and we don't know whether the planning application will come forward again in the same form that it was in, or whether the applicants will withdraw the planning application, or whether they'll put a planning application forward which is a completely different planning application. I wonder whether it'd be more sensible for us to wait until we find out what's actually the response of the applicant to the judicial review. And then we'll have something concrete on the table to actually give our consultation about if we're asked for consultation.
Well, yeah. I was waiting for us to be asked to consult, but Kevin.
I think it's a lot simpler than that. I think we just move to vote on the original motion, and then we will see what the view around the table happens to be.
Can I just say actually that over a period of 4 or 5 months, more than 2 years ago, I asked the Traffic Community Network panel to have a discussion about this, and that was blocked. Right. Political management. And I would also point out that, like Councillor Ames, I put my name forward for to return to this town council back in May or June, whatever it was. And as ever, I've put my manifesto out there, and included in that was, I can't remember the exact wording, but it was to address this issue. So even though the election was uncontested, that is a democratic mandate, which should be respected by this council, because we've heard so much over the last 2.5 years about democratic mandates and stuff anyway. So I'd like to think that mine would get the same respect as everybody else's. Thank you.
Where's the
Where's the applicant as well? Where's the applicant?
Is there any supporters?
The applicant.
We need a resolution, or we need to decide what we're going to do with this.
It's like we defer this until we hear some more outcome from the planning.
From the planning people.
Read the judicial review, you won't need to wait for that.
They'll come back next month.
Yeah, we'll be back in again.
Yeah. Anybody second that? You'll second it? Okay.
Is that procedurally correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Okay. We've got a proposal that's been seconded to defer this item until there's substantial new information from formal council and the planning. All in favour? Tom, please stop interrupting.
Hi, it's really quick.
No, we're literally voting, so this is an important
You
procedure.
haven't got a chance to get seconded.
You seconded it.
Everybody had the chance to second it. I paused for a good 10, 15
You
seconds.
didn't ask the question.
I didn't hear it.
You didn't ask the question.
So I don't have to ask the question. People put their hands in the air.
This gentleman made a
All right.
proposal. You didn't say. the gentleman seconded.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
correct.
correct.
Yeah.
You can still go back.
Who
If you make
seconded
a
it?
proposal, you can still have a second.
I propose that we
We've
flag
got
it.
a proposal there and a second there.
Proposal on the table.
But what about the proposal?
Okay. Right.
Voted
Right,
proposal.
the way this works,
We know,
so why are you questioning it?
because you're doing it wrong.
No, no.
Proposal on the table.
It has to be seconded.
You didn't ask me.
You know.
Let's go with the original motion. You.
Somebody needs to put their hand in the air and say, no, excuse me, I'm telling you how this works. This is my table when I chair it. You want to put a code of conduct breach in to what's just happened, it's all recorded, it's fine.
This gentleman here did say, why don't we just go ahead with the
He
original?
did.
In fact, that is seconding the proposal.
No, it's
Without
not.
him saying I second.
They have to say it.
But you introduced that person to second that motion. Why didn't you introduce?
I said, does anybody want to? Because I said we need to move on.
I didn't hear you say it. I genuinely.
Well, I did say, does
Would
anybody
you
want
say
to?
it again, please?
Well, it's already been seconded. Right, so we're moving on to the vote. All in favour of Betty's proposal that this is deferred until there is significant new evidence coming out of the powers that be.
The recorded vote, please.
Did you record the vote, please? I said all in favour of it, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4 votes. Let us know when you're done. Yeah. Against? 2, 3. Abstain. The item is deferred. Obviously, you are all welcome to stay and enjoy the rest of our exciting meeting. You are welcome. Right. Every,
Yeah.
Right. Is that everybody leaving? Right, oh, God, I'm going to look tonight. Can we? Linda, just to stretch out a little bit, to limber up. Right, what I'm going to do now is play fast and loose the agenda again. This gentleman has had to sit through that. Here's Liam. You're here about the blue light thing.
That's correct,
Yeah,
yeah.
so, which is the blue light one? Item 13, to agree proposal that a blue light memorial garden be included in plans for an accessible memorial garden on Shelburne Hill. It's a very councillor Roy thing, and I think you're actually, yeah, favour of it, I assume.
Yes, I.
If you want to go now, and then we'll discuss.
So, good evening. Just for the history, my name's Jamie, I work the ambulance service full time. So I approached Peter LeBroy and the council to see if we can have a memorial garden for our emergency services, the NHS. For Cornwall, the memorial garden. So I'm here tonight to ask any questions and hopefully get some support. The location was just behind here. I understand that part of the memorial, the war memorial, to be part of it as well, but I understand there's been kind of rejection against it and being kind of partnership with it. But my ask is if it's possible for a memorial garden for emergency services, which will represent anyone from Cornwall, worked or lived in Cornwall, and it will be up here.
Right. I'll go for your thing, and then.
Yes, I'm a bit concerned about what Jamie said about there being an objection.
Yeah.
Right, okay, well, I'll speak separately about that.
Yeah.
If that's okay. So first of all, thanks very much, Jamie, for coming along to the meeting. Jamie contacted me with a proposal to have a memorial garden for our emergency services. I thought that sounded like a great idea. I remember that we had a plan to have a separate memorial garden just on this patch of grass above here in sight of our war memorial as an accessible zone for people wanting to visit, especially on Armistice Day and so on. And I thought putting the two together would seem to be a pretty sensible and good idea. And I think Jamie thought the same. And hey presto, we had a proposal to do this and put it on the table with the council. I'm absolutely supportive of what Jamie's brought forward. I think the emergency services look after us as a community and all throughout the country. They do an amazing job. Often they're unthanked for what they do. And I think to have some sort of recognition of that we can support is something that I can really get behind. I'm disappointed to hear that anybody is against joining together to do that. And I don't want to suggest anything, but I'm just sort of wondering in my mind if they don't want to be a part of a joint effort, then well, they don't have to do that.
No.
That's my I mean, the garden would still be there for people to visit and sit down and observe occasions of the war memorial. So I would say if anybody doesn't want to join in that, well, that's their loss, and we should carry on with James' proposal.
So what we're effectively asking our community is, it was going to be an armed forces memorial garden. What we're effectively saying is combine it and, for want of a better term, call it a uniformed services garden. So it includes all emergency services.
The naming will be confirmed. At the moment, I've got Cornwall Heroes Memorial Garden.
Okay.
At the moment,
it's just adding the civilian uniform services to
it.
What was intended to be the military. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Any
Sorry, something else going on. The design of it will be hopefully trying to get local schools involved to do like a competition to design it. So that as well, and going to schools.
Yeah, I'm incredibly supportive of this. I think obviously there is a slight concern about when you said something to a group and there was a reasoning for that, and that group was trying to, can we make this more accessible? And then you're sort of, obviously there is that potential concept of you're diminishing it, but I think if you do say it is a Cornwall Heroes thing, I think that's really nice. And I think as long as we tactfully involve, make sure we involve all groups involved in this, those who do want to be involved, obviously we have to tread carefully. But with that in mind, was that Vicky that was at the moment, Councillor Vicky, who was doing which was involved in the garden now, those discussions. So in some ways, maybe the first step would be requesting her to bring together some of those groups and start to figure out a framework for this, and then come back with this is the formal proposal, this is how much it's going to cost, this is going to be the process for it, and then we can agree, basically go yes to that.
Yeah, can I say as well, I'm incredibly supportive of this in principle too, but I'm really upset to be put into a position where I have one line on an agenda which appears to be asking me to make an open-ended commitment in terms of cost and everything else. You know, it's all right to come here and talk about these things, you know, and I'm sure what you're thinking of is a perfectly reasonable amount of money and everything else. But you could be talking about a 50-foot high marble statue of a fire officer, and I wouldn't agree to that. So
Right.
So can I just leave to Jamie's defence? He did submit some paperwork. I'm sure I sent it to the town clerk, but I'll have to check that.
okay, well, sorry,
And I don't ever think that Jamie would imagine us to do anything
not quite as much as that.
to such exuberance. I think that whatever happened, it would have to be reasonable. And I think we would have to set a budget.
So the funding will be fundraised, so with nothing from the town council funding, it will be fundraised as a county to support it. So the idea is to try and get like a committee set up with this. And so there'll be no funds at all from the town council.
So effectively, it'll be we
You'll just buy the land.
buy land, which we're already working on doing anyway.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Thanks.
Just a really quick one, some of which already been answered. I think it's another idea, really good. As long as you don't upset anybody. Just wanted to ask, who was it? I didn't really catch who you said to speak to.
It was the military, just because.
The other or
It's just the military, I would say, because they got the memorial place already, and they feel that we'll maybe take it away from that. So, but it's,
thank you.
I think the only other thing pro tip to be aware of is obviously, it's obviously culturally significant land, but obviously very tight planning around that area. So even though you might have access to that land, they'll obviously be working again. This is why it's important to, I think, work with Councillor Vicky about this, because they should help navigate through the process. And so I think, like, should we move generally to proposal?
Yeah, I mean, it's a memorial garden, you know, if they don't put a poppy in there, they're missing a trick, but other than that, you know, you've got a license, like you say, you've got to be involved, that's cool.
We'll be working with both groups, won't it?
Yeah, exactly, that's, there's already, I think Vicky is sort of in discussions with, you know, the various military groups, so this is literally adding the uniform services to it.
correct.
So, yeah,
No. I just wanted to say very, very quickly, I just wanted to leap again to Jamie's defence. I just checked my emails. He did send a letter of support outlining the project. I did send it to the town clerk, sorry.
okay. Well, I think we've probably got enough to make a decision. I mean, I'm going to propose that we do agree to this, you know, the uniform services be added to the plans for a memorial garden on Sherwood Hill.
Can I just amend it to say on the basis of the suggestion as per James, sorry,
James.
So Sprake.
Just to make it absolutely clear that we're not paying for this memorial, that somebody else is paying for it, and we're providing the land, because we haven't seen that.
Can we work that into a?
I wouldn't necessarily get us stumping up a few quid.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
But not overly.
That's very vague, isn't it? Just a few.
Well, we need to
Support in principle.
The proposal I made no commitment financially or otherwise, so if there was a change to that, it would have to come back to us for a debate and discussion and whatnot and resolution, and you know, we could look to do that through the grants fund or the mayor's fund, or you know, whatever it may be. At the moment, it's a proposal to support adding them to the plans with no financial commitment.
If we added the words any budget to be identified at a future date, will that help?
Absolutely.
You,
Yes. I would be very happy.
okay, I will accept that amendment, and you second it, all in favour? Unanimous, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, mate. If you want to go, now it's time.
Thank you very much.
Delayed the mayor's report, it's exciting stuff.
We've still got a presentation.
I know, that's why I was just looking for the agenda item number so I could bump it. Oh, it's number 5, okay. Liam, I'm going to bump you up to now and then. And without wanting to be rude at all, hopefully you understand me asking you to keep this brief.
Yeah, I will. Thank you. So for one, there's just some new faces. My name's Liam Dyer. I run LJD coaching and supply holiday provision to the area of Bude-Stratton and for children beyond that as well. Provide a program during the major holidays of the year, summer, Christmas and Easter, working with Time to Move, where we provide free school meal, children free places to attend holiday program, and with the support of Bude-Stratton Council over previous holiday programs, the summer just gone being one of them, to enable children of Bude-Stratton to attend days for £5. During those programs, we feed the children with breakfast and a hot lunch at no additional cost, ensuring that all children are well fed and watered throughout the day, as well as providing them with physical activities, arts, craft, music and dance activities. I was asked to briefly say regarding what has happened in the previous summer holidays. So this past summer holidays,
in front.
we have been extremely fortunate in that we had over 1,000 bookings for the holiday program. In fact, we had 1,818 bookings for the 16 days. We had 87 children who unfortunately did not turn up, who were booked. Of that, 135 cancellations. 953 attendees were from Bude-Stratton Town Council vouchers. We had 710 free school meal children come for free for the holidays, and we had 20 children attend who paid the full price for the programme, basically meaning they were not entitled to free school meals, free places, or they lived outside of the parish of Bude-Stratton. Of those activities, like I said, it was over 4 weeks. We cater for all children of all abilities and disabilities, aged between the ages of 4 and 11 years old. From the point of view, we had an unprecedented amount this summer of children of SEN background, which we catered for. We enabled over 40 children to attend who required one-to-ones, which we funded ourselves, because unfortunately the funding for that is not available for children of SEN background. Feedback in relation to that has been unprecedented, really. For example, one parent commented, "We cannot afford to send our child to holiday provision because usually when we're asking to send our child," I'll cut the name out, that's why it sounds a bit odd. When we're asking to send our children to holiday provision, we are asked to pay extra to provide a one-to-one for that child. Another parent couldn't believe that we were enabling children to come and not asking for extra money as well, in addition to that. Feedback on the whole regarding Bude-Stratton Town Council support continues to be extremely strong. Thank you for this to Liam and the team. Once again, I've been able to work this summer, which enables me to be able to save enough money to be able to afford Christmas. Without this, I couldn't get through the holidays without you. Thanks all. Thank you so much. This programme enables me to work and be able to afford to send my children into a safe environment in which I know they are looked after as child provision. And then there are many more comments along those lines. Move on, try and keep it brief. In terms of the programme,
Again, I incorporated and made sure that we enabled the programme to be self-sustainable as well. So I worked again with Co-op in Bude, who provided us with all of our breakfast items. Sainsbury's in Bude supported us with fruit, so we had a piece of fruit for every child every day. I paid for it, but we worked alongside Bude-Stratton in Bude to provide all of our hot meals. The reason we use Bude-Stratton is simply because they've got used at the start, they've been consistent, and they meet the varying needs of all the children that we have with various allergies that we need to cater for, and we need to make sure that that is made safe. We also worked with Morrison's, who provided us with bits and pieces that we needed to be able to support our breakfast provision. This year, I've always worked with social services, Cornwall carers, the schools, parent support advisors. This year we did actually have 19 children through social services who came, which allowed them to come to a safe place. Many of these work from within the Bude area. We do have 2 children that came from out of area, but within Cornwall, but that was for reasons of safety. And again, we've had quite an extensive email from social services thanking us for this, our support in being able to enable these children to be able to attend. Once again, in Cornwall, we were one of the highest, we were the second highest provider of places for children for the holiday programme, 3 times move. The only reason we weren't top is because we have one site, as other providers have multiple sites. Moving forward, I've got a video, but I won't show you that one now. But moving forward, a proposal towards the council is to would be for hopefully to gain your support again to be able to provide children of Bude-Stratton the ability to attend at Christmas for 4 days, 3 days prior to Christmas, being the 20th, 21st and 22nd of December, and Tuesday the 2nd of January before they go back to school, to be able to support children to attend the holiday programme. Being hosted this summer, we hosted at Bude Infants because of work at Stratton, but we are returning to Stratton Primary School this Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you. Speak for everyone. This is one of those ones that we're all really happy to support, and you know it's growing, and you're doing fantastic work. So you know, thank you for driving it, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to help with that. It's immeasurable benefit to the community, and you know, if a story ever went national, this would be one that I would choose. You know, it won't, but I don't know who put their hand up first. You haven't spoken tonight, Kate.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo that. I just think it's absolutely amazing what you do. I think it's so needed. And I wish there was a way we could do it for every holiday and have more than one site in Bude, because I believe, I don't know, I mean, with 1,800 young people, I should imagine you could probably fill 2.
Yeah, we've increased our numbers. So originally when I first started, we were 40. Well, the first summer we did 60 a day. Well, the next Christmas was 80, and then last Easter we went to 100 a day. Some days during this holidays, so our average attendance was 99.75 children a day, because some days we actually increased to 115 children a day to be able to support certain children and families that needed help.
Do you have a waiting list?
No.
Do you think if you opened one, you would fill it?
We have, I have a list which is of interest, and what we do is we make sure that children can attend in some way. It's so sometimes I guesstimate who may not attend, so some no-shows, who sometimes we get children that we know are regular no-shows, but plans aren't coming, or there's cancellations during, there's cancellations, I'm then able to open places up. but as yet haven't been able to find an opportunity to ensure that everybody that wants to come can come. And that includes, like I say, children that who need additional support.
And there's a few times, what I'm going to do is obviously item 5 and item 6 are linked. We've heard item 5, so I'm going to run straight into item 6, which is to resolve to provide funding for Christmas activities and to agree to set up a procurement exercise for summer 2024. And then I'm going to go back to the agenda.
Would you want to take Katie's? She said her hand up from the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a specific question actually about, because you mentioned that Seth, that's obviously a cost to you, as you mentioned. And so it would be possible for you to share that with the working group or share that with, that's the town council in some way, because obviously, not now, but in email or something later, because obviously it'd be great to figure out ways that we can possibly get that covered.
So the SEN costs vary based on who signs up.
Yeah.
So, for example, at Easter, we had 9 children of SEN attend over the 4 days who needed one-to-ones. So it's not all SEN children need one-to-ones.
Yeah.
So there's only specific things, whether that be support for certain reasons. This holidays, we averaged 8 a day that needed one-to-ones. So as a cost event, you're looking at in excess of 6,500.
Well, the paper that I produced on the student activities programme for 2024. There's 2 parts. There's 2 parts to the proposal. The first part is that the STC goes ahead with funding LDD coaching for their Christmas 2023 programme. And in support of that, I would say that the STC has already committed to funding LDD coaching by an allocation in the revenue account. There's not enough time to prepare any sort of formal procurement exercise before Christmas. Therefore, I would like to propose that the STC get the information from LJB coaching as to what their proposal is for funding and put this for the full council decision in November. So I suppose, do we have a second from you now about the funding that you want for Christmas?
So again, I'll open up to free to move children. It's working with Time to Move. The funding with Time to Move has been reduced. The government has cut it, unfortunately, which is much to my surprise, as is many other people. So there is reduced numbers, but we are committed to what we've always said we will commit to, which is at least half of the places available to free to move children as a first option. So we will continue that commitment. So the proposal would be to base it on a similar level to what we did in the summer. But I know over the period of summer you did 1,000 places, which worked out as 45 a day. I would suggest 45 a day.
So that's a very similar thing to what we did last Christmas, which was over 4 days. We funded, well, in the end, 45 to 50 places, wasn't it, for the 4 days, at £15 per session, because the other children were going entitled to free school meals, and then and they therefore get that place funded via Time to Move.
Yes.
So that would be the first part of this proposal. I don't know if you want to. Is it okay to vote on that bit separately? There's a second part of that, third funding from January onwards.
Just a question, just my mental maths. So that's 200 places across 4 days, is that right?
If it was 50, yes.
Yeah. So 200 places, £15 a pop. That's £3,000 per local kids for a fantastic Christmas. We can take this on in answer to your question. Yeah, we can do this in 2 parts. If you would like.
Did Councillor Purchase say that we had a provision in our budget for this activity?
Yes.
Yeah.
That would cover
we made
that.
provision in our revenue budget for the
That would cover that cost.
summer and the Christmas.
And it would be up to 3,000 because we don't know whether it's going to be full uptake, do we?
No, so we didn't take full uptake.
Yeah.
And summer.
Okay. Sorry. Do you want to do that or just?
So that's a proposal. Second that.
we're doing it.
In bits, yeah, so we'll be funding up to a maximum of 3,000 for an activity programme.
For Christmas.
All in favour?
No.
Fantastic.
Okay. So the second part of this is I suppose a change to our approach in a way, because when we were first talking to Liam, Liam was the only person who'd actually put an activity like this on. So we put it on for one day in the Easter of 2022, I believe it was. And there was no other people who were doing time to move holiday programs in Cornwall.
No, there was in Cornwall.
Oh, sorry, in Bude-Stratton. So I think that this relationship with Liam has been absolutely great, and it's fulfilled our objectives in terms of what we wanted for children. However, I think that now there are more players in the market. There's more people in Bude-Stratton who are offering this, and I think in terms of transparency, what I'd like to do is suggest that we open this kind of offer funding to see who else apart from Liam is actually offering this. This isn't a reflection at all on what I think Liam's doing, which I think is absolutely brilliant. I know every time I come to see you. However, I think in terms of, I suppose, fairness and feeling like we need to be sure that, you know, we're not just repeating something just because you know, we haven't really thought through the whole picture, is that I think that we need to do a procurement exercise for summer, Easter and summer 2024. So what I've suggested is that we provide some quality criteria in terms of that procurement exercise. The officers haven't yet decided whether they want that to be a full tender exercise or whether it be the kind of expression of interest type procurement exercise. That depends on our financial regulations. Because the other thing about this is actually we are, in terms of the money that we're spending now, we are actually butting up against our financial regs, which require that if we spend over £25,000 on something, we need to go up to 10. So we certainly don't want to put ourselves into a position where we're falling foul of our own regulations. So I, along with a few other councillors, have developed a set of policy criteria, which I hope reflect really the kind of things that we're seeing in the activity that Liam does. So we're trying to make sure that we don't lose any of those kind of quality criteria that we have. So, for example, we want the person to be an approved time to move provider, to work with the local schools to help identify non-preschool meal families who benefit from the programme. And that's something that I don't think that Liam kind of blows his own trumpet up about enough, but actually Liam works with the local schools very closely to try and identify those families where they're not free school meals, but they're not able to really afford too much. You know, they are struggling with the cost of living, and to make sure that those children aren't kind of pushed aside, you know, that they know that the programme's available and they get kind of advance notice. They can't be booked onto it prior, but they get advance notice that it's coming available. We want people to provide one-to-one supervision ratios. We want people to provide a variety of physical and mental activities. Again, something that Liam and his team do absolutely excellently. We were down there watching a drumming activity recently. And I've seen artwork there and all sorts of things, Christmas card making and so on. We want to provide who offer places to look after children. So these are the children that Liam was talking about who are looked after by social services. We also want to be able to, I suppose, minimise the work that involves BSTC to do, because we as a council don't have access to the information about these children. We don't have access to their status. We don't know who's free school meals, who isn't free school meals, and we don't know who's necessarily in the catchment and who isn't. But the way that Liam organises these activities means that we don't have to know. We just provide the funding for it and the software applications that he uses kind of filters out all the rest. I also feel personally that the £15 subsidy that we provide should actually bring the cost of the session to a reasonable level. I don't think we should be offering a £15 subsidy to provide who's charging £100 a day, because that isn't making any real difference to the cost. It's effectively, we're just subsidising people who can afford something quite expensive anyway. So I'd like to see that that the £15 represents a minimum of 50% of the cost of the session. And there are some other great things that Liam does. It provides holiday employment opportunities, provides work experience opportunities, there's a breakfast club, works in partnership with local community groups, so things like the churches and so on. And it requires minimal administrative work from BSTC. So those are the kind of quality criteria that I would like to see. And my proposal is that we put those into a procurement exercise, the shape of which is agreed by the officers. And we do that in January 2024 so that we can sort out the provision for Eastern and Southern Street.
Just to be clear, the proposal is that we set up a procurement exercise, not the exact specifics of what you just read out. That would be the starting point, so to speak.
Well, the paper has got the quality criteria in it, and I think that those quality criteria should be used in the procurement exercise. So in order to judge whether somebody should be funded by the SDC or not, I think that we need to see that they're going to provide those things.
Right.
I fully agree that we need to kind of reality check everything, and if we're bumping up against financial race, we need to do that double side. But I wonder, rather than frame it as a procurement exercise, if there is another way whereby we could perhaps benchmark and ask other authorities that do this whether we're in the right ballpark, rather than sort of get ourselves embroiled in having to go out to some kind of tender process. Because if another authority just down the road is doing the same sort of thing and they're charging the same sort of money, we've basically worked out that this guy is not ripping us off, so we can tick the box, surely.
So the ad have actually been approached by Time to Move to produce. There's only been there was only yesterday I had the email to produce a case study on what we do, because councils across Cornwall want to know how on earth you are getting so many children attending that holiday programme. And they want to know what the council are doing to enable more children to attend. Because at present, as Philip said, not this summer there wasn't. There was only one other provider with Time to Move, which was Tenham Lakes this summer within this area. Previous summer, 12 months ago, Adventure International did host activities as part of Time to Move. But that is part of their big programme that they do with their sites in Falmer, Truro.
I think I would say in answer to Kevin's question that no other council in Cornwall is doing what we do. As far as I'm aware, we're absolutely unique in that.
No, that's what I've been asked.
We're very good with the young living and not so clever with the dead, but.
They sort of do
that. Katie.
I understand if there's regulations for you to follow, like Trevor mentioned. However, you've just literally wrote down what LJ you want this chap, but you want to see if anybody else is this chap. To me, I think it would be like, if we don't have to, because we haven't hit any criterias, then I feel like we're kind of putting ourselves in a situation where we don't need to be. If we've already got someone who is clearly amazing and doing a fantastic job, why do we want to see if anybody else is better when we really just want what he's doing? Does that make sense?
I think it's actually within our rules that
Yeah.
got.
That's really what I'm trying to do, is trying to make sure that we're completely covered in terms of, that's exactly, that
Who we end up
we're being
with.
above board, we're following our financial regulations, and that we are being transparent with our community and offering people the opportunity. And I suppose that my concern is if we don't do that, this whole process that we're in could be called into some kind of question. So that's my role.
Yeah.
Hopefully not too much, but hopefully.
I mean, I was gonna say that I think this is, obviously, we have to do it. It's not like, there's obviously, we've written this in a way that anyone that has very relevant experience and very good connections within the area is obviously going to do very well, hopefully, in the field. So, and we'll obviously get to that step when we get to it. If we need to legally do it, we need to legally do it. So I propose that we.
Are we doing the proposals written in the paper?
She was halfway through it, so I don't know yet. Yeah, I think it's got a hand up as well.
I just wanted to speak before a proposal was made, because it feels too late after it's been made.
Go on then.
So thank you. I just wanted to say, I mean, to Councillor Purchase, I would like, thank you for the work you put into this. It seems a really sensible thing to do. But I wonder if perhaps we might explore some other mechanisms to do this piece, because I'm just recounting in my mind while you were talking some experiences I had at Cornwall Council, where they have a very similar situation where some big sums of money are spent on a regular basis doing the same thing. And rather than go out to tender every time, the council creates what's called a framework agreement. So effectively, it finds somebody who could do something for good value for money, and then we'll sign an agreement with them, and then is allowed to keep going back time after time. And that, I don't want to say that it gets around the rules, but it conforms with the rules. I just wonder perhaps if we might employ that sort of mechanism.
Can I respond to that? I've got a degree of familiarity with framework agreements, and absolutely, there's a number of times where framework agreements are really useful for councils. In terms of suppliers, they're absolutely onerous to try and actually get their provision onto the framework agreement. Effectively, the supplier has to fill in the tender document in order to get onto a framework which we can then pull off from. So I think in the long term, a framework agreement might benefit both parties. In the short term, actually, it would be very onerous for us to set up, and it would be very onerous for any of our local suppliers to achieve a set position on that framework agreement. And my experience of framework agreements is that big companies tend to do much better in terms of getting onto framework agreements than small local suppliers, because of the onerous amount of admin we have to do to get on. And that's just my experience. I see framework agreements which cover the whole regions, the whole southwest region and things like that, and you end up with very big providers of whatever it is, playground equipment or IT systems or whatever. They actually end up on the framework agreement, and your small local supplier just doesn't have the admin capability.
Through you, but we would write the framework.
Well, again, writing the framework agreement is not a job for somebody who's not steeped in procurement expertise, and I don't know that we've got that. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, I think I would tend to agree that it's probably quite a large piece of work to take on at this point. I mean, I sort of understand the thinking behind that, but I would say that this proposal is probably a practical way forward at the moment, and certainly would satisfy our internal auditor, who would otherwise be starting to ask questions if we use the same supplier year after year without going out more widely.
Did anyone second the proposal?
I didn't finish getting that.
Right.
I propose in January 2024, Bude-Stratton Town Council undertakes a procurement exercise for the food and activities subsidy 2024, using the criteria described in this paper as a basis for the decisions around the allocation of the available funding.
I'll second that.
I didn't ask. All in favour? Unanimous.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Fantastic work. It's one of the things that I'm most proud of achieving.
Say the same thing.
Yeah. Well, you can second one.
That is one of the things I'm most proud of the last 2.5 years.
Yeah. We've taken flack for many things, but it's stuff like this that gets you through the darker hours, so to speak. So thank you very much. And we are proud to be associated with it. Thank you. Yeah, nice. Right, I'm afraid the mayor's report. I will remind myself to keep this. It's going to be epic. What have I done this month? I went along the 70th anniversary gala of Bude South Life Saving Club, which was a lovely night, it has to be said. And I was sat on I can't remember VIP now. I was sat on the VIP table, and I promised I would not mention their names, but I was sat with a couple of families who fund various clubs and projects within our parish and beyond. We had a really good chat, and they were lovely people. I promised I would not mention their names, but thank you if you happen to be watching or give a report. So, yeah, and it was a great evening all round, because I joined that club when it was small back in the 80s, and now there's 200-person waiting list. There's 90 kids under the age of 11 training every week, roughly the same number going up to 14, and it's expanding all the time. And it's all volunteers, and that's what makes the community work. Lots of little clubs like that, and then you've got the people sat at that big table eating a pasty and salad with me, but we're using a knife and fork first. Yeah, it was a VIP pasty table. So probably the first time in my life I used a knife and fork to eat a pasty. But yeah, great evening, great people, and there's that. And then obviously we've taken on the Remembrance Sunday planning, which has been a bit of a scramble because it was at short notice, but we are very much there. So I don't know if we've got anybody for Saturday yet. I can't make Saturday, unfortunately. Kevin, fantastic, and I think Tom, you're doing Stratton 10 o'clock Sunday morning. Brilliant. But yeah, other than that, I haven't done a massive amount. I've been invited over to Oakhampton again on the 2-year anniversary of the train opening, but unfortunately it's on Monday and I'm working, so I can't go along to that. Thus ends the mayor's report. Formal councillors.
Yeah, you'll be pleased to know I've got 3 pages of bullet points to go through, each one of which I can talk at some length about. But I think, or I've sensed, given the meeting so far, I might write these up as bullet points over the weekend and send them to the clerk and ask her to attach them to the minutes. I'm happy to take any questions if anybody's got anything burning to ask me.
I'll go with Darky.
I had a phone call today from some company doing a survey for Cornwall housing.
News to me.
Well, it was news to me when the phone went. Wanted to know what we thought of Cornwall housing in that. I put it out to the total crap. But that's, I just wondered why they're spending all this money ringing people, got some company ringing people up asking what they think.
I think it's the posh term, this is due diligence. If a company is being told they're a bit rubbish at what they do, they need to get opinions of their customers, document them, and then act on the findings.
Well, why didn't the Cornwall Council just send us a little questionnaire themselves? Instead of paying some company a fortune to ring people up.
They probably haven't got the officers there to do it. They've cut the staff down to the bone. They would have to go out to contractors, which in my opinion is a mistake, because they probably pay double the price that they pay their own staff.
Yeah, of course they will. Right, that's me, cheers.
Right.
Yeah, it was in regards to Crooklets. Obviously, I'm guessing work basically had to stop for the Crooklets Road, like because of the storm. But obviously now we have got an issue where we have a road close sign which keeps going for a wander, and people driving down even though it says no entry. Do you have any concept of when they might be back to finish the job?
No.
Okay.
I'll find out for you.
Cool. Any more questions? No. Jumbled this around a lot now. Where are we? 7? To approve the minutes of the previous meeting, 5th of October 2023. I propose we do that. Would anybody like to second? Yeah. Second it. Okay, all in favour? Against? Abstain? Committee meetings to receive and note the minutes of the meetings listed below. Planning Committee, 11th of October. Seconded, all in favour? Against? Abstain? Cool. Cultural and Heritage Services, 12th of October.
I'll propose this.
Seconded, all right, all in favour? Against? Abstain? Corporate and Democratic Services, 26th of October 2023.
Mostly, see the notice.
I'll second that. All in favour? Against? Abstain? Right, now recommendations coming out of there. To approve recommendation relating to EV chargers. Which,
So we've got the
yeah.
proposals here. I'm just gonna be gentle.
So the committee resolved to recommend to full council option 3 proposed by the EV charging company. Contract with EV charging company to upgrade the site, relocate the EVCs as agreed with the heads of terms dated 25th January 23. Cost to council nil. And to discuss the EV charging company, the possibility of retaining electrical chargers at the front of the Parkhouse Centre. So
I can see what you want to talk to.
No, I was just, you talk about it.
Okay, we had a discussion at C&D committee, the first one, where we felt like it might be wise if we rethink our previous agreement with the EV charging company. However, at the October C&D committee, we had legal advice from our new policy and legal officer, who stated very clearly that if we didn't continue with the contract where we had already signed the heads of terms, we would be in breach with that company. There was a potential for a reasonably large financial penalty to us for being in breach. And we also wouldn't have any electric car chargers either at the front or at the back, and we would have to restart negotiating again. So I think the view of the C&D committee was that that didn't make sense. But any other option that we would be thinking about would involve us in a reasonably large sum of money, and that we should go ahead with the change from the licence to the lease as requested by the company, and honour the contract that we've already signed.
Just to add to that, and when it says, and to discuss with the EV charging company about the possibility of retaining the electrical chargers at the front of the Parkhouse Centre, that was, they can't have lots out there, but the possibility they could have, they said, like potentially cap 2, and that we could use for staff, for example. So not ripping stuff out, not literally sending stuff to e-waste immediately, it's getting reused rather than recycled or chucked, basically.
The only other part of this, which I don't think that the resolution really encompasses, but I presume is going to be part of the contract with the company, is that they've now offered to pay us a rental of £200 a year from year 4 of the contract, whereas before they had not offered us any money for the 15-year term contract. So, sorry, £200 for each point. So they did actually improve their offer.
yeah, I mean, we obviously debated it at length, didn't we, and looked into it, and it was the best options of those available in our considered opinion. So I'm gonna propose that we approve the recommendation. All in favour? Unanimous. Cool. To approve recommendation regarding Hill Valley Trail. To recommend to full council that VSTC supports the principle of bringing the site into community ownership and to support in principle the fundraising activities of any group that is formed to secure the long-term future of the site. To also explore a possible formal relationship with Marmchurch Parish Council and the emerging Friends of Hill Valley Trail Group. Tom.
Yeah, I just did, while this is basically consistent with what was discussed. I'm just a bit uncomfortable with it said the emerging friends of Hill Valley Trail. My understanding from listening to the recording was that it was any more that what was intended was any friends of the trail, the Hill Valley Trail that had marriages, rather than a specific group. And we talked a bit earlier on about transparency and committing to this, that, or the other. And I'm just concerned about two things. One is committing to a group that we don't know what its membership or anything, what it stands for or anything at this stage. And the second thing that slightly concerns me is that we've put the final sentence as suggested that Marmchurch Parish Council and the Emerging Friends of Hill Valley Trail are put on the same sort of footing in terms of our possible formal relationship. It has to be remembered, obviously, that Marmchurch Parish Council is a democratically constituted body. I don't know of any Friends of Hill Valley Trail group that exists, or any proposals that are anybody looking at setting up such a group. Right? So I'm just a bit.
Okay.
So could I propose an amendment?
To also explore a possible formal relationship with Marmchurch Parish Council and the emerging Friends of Hill Valley Trail Group. You want to amend that sentence?
Yes, please. I could. Well, I'd like to propose an amendment.
Well, okay. What would you like it amended to?
I would like to delete put full stop after Marmchurch Parish Council, and then a new sentence which says the STC will. I should have written this down. Will welcome engagement or contributions from any individual or group who wish to support the objectives of the STC in relation to the trail.
I mean, I'd be happy to support that amendment if it's within my gift to do so.
Yeah, that's why I was looking at you as your chair of that committee. So
yeah, this was a recommendation from the committee, so I'm presuming I can yeah, okay, yeah. I'd be very happy to.
So we want to amend it, sorry.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily agree that the minutes should be changed, but I think that we can change the
We
recommendation.
can change the recommendation without changing the minutes. Yeah. Okay, so Tracy, did you get close enough to what that change was? Okay.
I'm just a little concerned about how broad that last bit is actually, because like lots of individuals suddenly starting, like all coming saying, I'm in charge of this, I'm in charge of that, I'm in charge of that, and feeling like all coming to us. That's what it sounds like for that last bit. It doesn't sound, I know it's really petty in the wording, but like this suggests there's two groups that we're talking to, and now suddenly it's like it could be any individual, which is like that's quite a big commitment. So we could just say Marmchurch Parish Council, leave it as that, and like that means that we can talk to them as a formal relationship, and I'm sure they will develop a relationship with whoever emerges, if that's what concern is about. I'm just worried about
yeah, I just it would be kind of odd if Marmchurch Parish Council got into an agreement with different Friends of Hill Valley groups that we did. And we ended up voting in competing groups, but Tom?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Katie's suggestion. The reason why I suggested that sentence was because it was kind of consistent with what was discussed at the last CND meeting, because we did talk about, but the only thing I disagree with slightly with Katie on is that I think, you know, it's what's called engagement with the public, really. If different people have, you know, we listen to what people are saying. That's why I was suggested it should be that we welcome the engagement from, rather than we are going to only engage with. But if
Right.
I'm willing to, happy to, for Katie's amendment to be.
Amend the amendment. Right, Tracy, catch me up.
It wasn't seconded.
Right.
Oh, sorry, it was.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to, right, Philip, go.
I'm not completely happy to accept that amendment because, for a start, I don't think Marmchurch Parish Council are actually the parish council. They're not the parish council where this piece of land is in. So I don't think we can throw, no, it's not. It's in our country, yes, so we can't throw responsibility over to Marmchurch Parish Council to create a relationship with any emerging group, and that we then have a relationship with the parish council. These are our parishioners, constituent residents, so we need to be engaging with them if they want to take up some activities. And there's a meeting tomorrow morning in Marmchurch, and I don't know what will come out of it, but potentially there'll be crowdfunders and all the rest of it, and we need to be engaging with those people. We can't step away from this and say, Marmchurch Parish Council, you deal with it, and we'll just.
Sorry, there was no suggestion.
Not from you.
Okay.
No.
Volunteer.
Sorry.
Right. I've completed that stuff, but the other amendments. What have you got down as a proposal?
Full stop after Marmchurch PC, and then include any other groups that come forward.
Well, welcome engagement.
Welcome engagement with the public.
Yeah.
Those lines.
Yes.
Be as broad as possible, so we don't.
Yeah, but I did add that you should talk the objectives of the BSTC. That means the BSTC is the one who, as you say, is in charge.
Okay.
BSTC area.
It's recommendation as written up until the Manchester Parish Council force, and then support, engage with.
Welcome engagement of any members of the public or groups that support the objectives.
You got that? We need to second the amendment, don't we? All right, I'll second the amendment. All in favour? I think it's already set. Right. Unanimous, happy days. Item C. Item C was, there was the wrong word we put in there. It's not the recommendation regarding the skate park. We did that at full council a while ago. It's to approve the recommendation regarding the fishing putt, which was to keep the fishing putt facility as a community building and to seek expressions of interest for both the building and the fishing putt facility combined. So effectively, as is, but our rules state that we committed to opening it up to community groups. So this is a chance for anybody with an interest to express that interest in taking it on as is. Obviously, the current incumbents are welcome to express their interest and leave they have already.
Happy to second that because it.
I proposed that, sorry, yeah. Happy to second that.
Yeah.
All right, all in favour. Cool. Right, to approve the recommendation to ratify policies contained in CD 027/23, the financial risk management policy.
Yeah, I mean, these were all discussed at the.
Yeah, can we take them one in a block or?
Well, I think it's only right to take them individually because people might have
Okay.
comments on each one.
Go for it.
Okay, the comments that I made at C&D, when I look at the policies that we see before us now, the comments haven't been incorporated, so I'm going to make them again, and then we'll see whether people agree with them or not. So first of all, in the risk assessment, the first line says that there's insurance for all major events. And my understanding is that we don't have flood insurance for this building. And we've been through this multiple times, and I would like us to actually understand what that position is. And if we haven't got flood insurance, and we're not intending to take that flood insurance, that should be in our risk assessment. Because I personally feel that's a significant risk. So unless I've got the wrong version of the documents.
No, that's fine. I mean, that's something I was going to take forward in terms of the insurance, but I hadn't built it into this assessment, but I'm quite happy to put that in, and I'll make sure that that's in before if that's what you agree. So
yeah, because that's what I felt like when we talked at C&D about the policies. We said subject to the following amendments, we would. Yeah. So that's the first one. The second one is that financial risk management policy mentions a 3-signature policy, whereas I believe we've only got a 2-signature policy, which I think is just a typo. And in terms of the investment policy, we talked about investments being in line with the SDC's commitment to the fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty, but so that we would avoid investment options which involve investing in fossil fuel production supplies.
I did include that. Which one was that on? Sorry.
Investment policy. So apologies if I missed that, but I didn't see it. I don't think I had a read through and I don't think I saw that.
Right, so 5B at the end, I said bodies, so non-specified investments including longer-term investment, i.e. 12 months or more, but which still offers Social security bodies with high credit ratings and in line with the council's environmental policies.
Oh, okay.
So I included that.
Okay, brilliant. All right,
Yeah.
thank you. I'll completely withdraw that one.
Have you?
Ensure that those
Yeah,
amendments
great.
that are, which I've mentioned before, are included.
Just checking to finish your comment.
Yes.
Yes, Tom.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't brought the documents with me, which is, but down here. It was just, we were going to look into the issue of vicarious liability, well, if you want to call it that, or whatever, individual council responsibility or financial risk.
Yeah, I've had a chance to research that and build that in to these documents. Is that something you want to happen before these get approved?
But should we defer a decision on that one then until we have a look at the?
So on the financial risk management policy then?
Is it that one under risk assessment? I can't remember. Oh. Can I borrow that? Thank you. Yes, it's the financial risk assessment, isn't it?
Okay, well, I mean, I'm quite happy to do that research and bring that back. It also includes the flood risk. So I'm quite happy if you agree to defer that one particular policy for ratification next meeting, once we've had some input on those items. If, it would be good if we sign off the others if possible.
Right, so anybody else got anything to say on this? No, okay, so on a financial risk management policy, I propose that we accept it as.
Well, then we take it away and come back with the financial risk assessment. Oh, sorry,
the policy.
Yeah.
Answer yourself.
Yeah, so A, we're gonna propose to do. Sorry, I propose, not we.
I second.
Okay, all in favour? Unanimous. B, the proposal is to defer while some work is done to it and it comes back to us.
Second.
All in favour? Unanimous. C, the investment policy. Yeah, I'll second that. All in favour? Cool. Internal controls policy.
Propose that we accept that.
Cool. I'll second that. All in favour? Again? Where are you, Peter? With your
I was
hand-
Paul, sorry, I was reading the next agenda item.
Very dare you. Right. Go through that, to appoint a member to undertake internal controls for the council. Have we all got the list of candidates and read it? Yeah? Yeah, there's no point in reading through all of that, it's. Would anyone like to, any of those three candidates like to give any kind of statement as to why they'd like to be chosen? Or just a brief one?
Suggesting I might be long.
Well, no.
I don't know, just very quickly, at the last council, I think I made in my notes that I did serve on the audit committee. At Cornwall Council, it was a very interesting process and gave me a real good insight into why you need to have controls over the actions, behaviour of council, and particularly the financial ones. Obviously, we need to do that here, and we're brushing ourselves up to make sure that we do perform the appropriate diligence that a council of this size ought to do. And I probably spend quite a bit of time in the office. I try to, if I possibly can, spend an hour or two on Fridays, doing some of my own business and catching up with council officers. And it will be, I could include it into my duties quite easily, and I would look forward to doing it if I got the confidence of the council.
You don't have to say.
No, no, fine.
Give you the
I think I pretty
opportunity.
much put it in
Yeah.
my list of like 30 years I've engaged in bookkeeping and accounting. I'm not a trained accountant. I don't have particular experience of councils working, but I do understand accounting practices and double entry bookkeeping and all that sort of stuff, principles. So I'll be really happy to do it. Yeah, that's about it really.
Okay.
I have no experience and no qualifications.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought I'd put myself forward. I didn't know if anyone else would.
Thank you, Peter.
But I'm
Yeah.
equally happy to stand aside. as well.
Okay. Going to need proposals and seconders, aren't we, basically?
I propose that we have Jackie Diffie as, or Councillor Jackie Diffie as the member to undertake the internal controls of the council.
I thought we had a process for appointments.
How it's done here, it ran very, and we could do a secret ballot if you like.
Yeah, I was just,
Say that.
are you?
Yeah, I was going to propose Councillor Hannah.
I mean, it would take me a minute
tempted.
to provide you with the paper and you can just write down your favourite person, if you like.
So we don't need to propose and second.
Okay, I propose that we have a secret ballot. Cool. And you leave Councillor Hannah in it.
Don't recall it, vote Trump's secret ballot.
If that would be, get out of here, I thought. So, do you want to be in this, Ethan, or?
Or don't let me down.
I'm happy to withdraw.
Okay, okay, so we'll do a secret poll with councillors Roy and Izzy,
Yeah, please. Oh, make sure Matt gets one.
Amanda.
Is that enough? Do you want to take one? Colour, so I don't get two.
Yeah, right. There's one.
Is it, are we just voting for one person?
Yes, please.
Thanks.
Sales from counting. Has everyone been to account in the system?
Yeah.
Oh, it's very frankly.
It's one of those things where it's horribly boring and then very sightings.
Was
It's like going bankrupt.
was the guy responsible for getting the flag boxes back? And the common screens out.
Frank. I don't understand.
Is it wait for Parliament papers, yeah, no, it's, councillor Shipley is
Okay.
the winner.
Congratulations.
So no allocation of outstanding resolution to committee.
Yeah.
I have it somewhere. Right.
If I could just say, yeah, so this is obviously something that's a sort of legacy document from sort of previous committee structure, when particularly those like committees were kept an eye on the resolutions. I've just been talking this through actually recently with council purchase, and the intention is that all of the resolutions should be allocated, have been to some extent, but I don't feel it's a definitive piece of work yet, to the relevant committees, and then each committee will monitor their outstanding resolutions and actions, and we will make sure that we work our way through them. So I'm aware that the document that I've circulated is not comprehensive by any means, so what I think the things that I was trying to capture.
Okay.
So we've got sort of 2 or 3 different documents actually in the office, so it's a question of tidying all that up and making sure that each committee has their relevant resolutions. So that it's just really to make you aware that that process is happening. I don't want you to feel that we're going to lose sight of some of the resolutions that have been made.
Okay. Tom and Peter.
Does that mean we can still look forward to some sort of resolution from the planning committee relating to the community land trust issue?
Yes.
Thank you.
Peter.
I met, so I'm speaking now as chairman of the Culture and Heritage Services Committee meeting. I met up with Councillor Dickey as the vice chair, and also with Mark at the castle earlier this week. But we actually did look through that resolutions list together, and we sort of felt they didn't really fit within the remit of the committee. Some of them do, but I think the first block of 5, well, certainly the first 4, we were wondering how the committee could do those, and if it was at all appropriate or even have the ability to do them.
Yeah, so so this will be an agenda item on your next agenda to discuss. So I think at that meeting, then that would be a good opportunity to sort of tidy that up and potentially reject ones that you feel ought to sit in another committee and what have you. So I think the committee can certainly thrash that out at the meeting.
The use of the economic donut model in town council decision making is part of the procurement working group's remit. I can't remember who the procurement working group actually reports to in terms of committees, but
should be Cindy. Okay, so yeah, more work in progress.
Okay.
The other thing I just wanted to mention was that our very short-lived properties committee also had a couple of resolutions.
Okay.
1 and 2.
Sorry, yeah.
Right.
Okay, we'll make sure that those are.
Yeah, so what's to note the allocation of outstanding resolutions? Should we note that the paper is a work in progress and bring it back when it's more complete? I propose that.
I can second that.
Fantastic. All in favour?
May I ask a request as well, if we just have this in a spreadsheet live somewhere that we can see, because then I suspect there's going to be bits that are going to be booted around quite frequently according to what responsibilities ago on this, so just the spreadsheet.
Right. Right. Note management report for Q2 and agree movement of reserves.
Yeah, I mean, these are your normal financial reports. So, so you'll,
Q2, so we're obviously halfway through the year then with our expenditure and, which is quite a useful position to be in, given that we're now going to be assessing budgets for next year, over the next month or so, and budgets will be discussed in each committee, and then come to full council as a sort of complete sort of proposal, and we can see how many times we need to revisit it. We might have to have an extraordinary meeting, but we'll just see how that goes. And the reserves, so Emma's moved the sort of tidied up the reserves in that, you know, whatever's already been spent from reserves has been moved into, you know, to be reflected in the budget line, the current budget line. So that is the current situation. So each committee will be looking at the current position and budget for next year and the current situation with their reserves and what they need to do going forward. So there's quite a bit of work to do on finances in the next month.
I've got several questions, so shall I just do one and then see if anyone else has got any?
I hope I'll be able to answer most of the RFOs on here, but
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
My first point, it might be covered off by the rehash of the way the budgets are being kind of displayed to us. But from my personal point of view, I think it'd be really helpful to remove the funds that are flowing through the council to the kind of partnership in the town team into some kind of separate account, because otherwise I think that our accounts, our business as usual accounts, have been kind of skewed by, you know, £250,000 payments kind of coming in and out, and like that there's big overspends or underspends in terms of income coming in and so on. And I just think for clarity, what I would like to see is a separate account, which is an account for money that we don't, you know, that we're just managing, but, you know, for somebody else. And what reminded me about the properties committee resolutions was that at the first committee, we resolved to have a separate budget for Lord's Court income and expenditure. And, you know, I'm conscious that we're being asked questions time and time again about what we're actually spending on Lord's Court, but Lord's Court expenditure is weaved into a number of other budgets, and I really think we need to take the whole of Lord's Court expenditure out and have it in one clear place so that we can see the income and the expenditure from that building. Just for a point of clarity, I think we should try and remove all the div zero errors that are in the spreadsheet. That's a really poor way of you know, it's something that could easily be taken out. It's just a messy way of handling things, really. But, you know, we're struggling with this stuff anyway without errors, meaningless errors throughout it. Yeah. Okay, two more on this one reserve, sorry. The energy redress scheme, it looks like in terms of the reserves that we have spent some of that money on LED vector. That's what appears to be in the reserves. Now, I think that we should go back and check on why we put that money away, because my recollection of that was that the Bude Climate Partnership asked us to hold £20,000 as a kind of security against trying to put an application into the energy redress scheme, which is a scheme that is run by the electricity companies, who will then provide funding for various home efficiency measures. So the NEET side were asked to front up our application to the energy redress scheme, because they're a charity and we're not, and we were asked to provide a £20,000 kind of security, which I don't think there was ever any intention that would be spent. It was just, I suppose, to, yeah, I'm not making this up. Some fever dream somewhere. So I really think that we should go back, check what that was for, and not be spending it on our own energy stuff. Or if it's not needed anymore, brilliant, just pop it back into our own reserves and carry it. And the last thing, just a question really, is just to confirm, from my understanding, from the reserve situation, that we still have over 500,000 pounds in unallocated funds. Is that what I can read from the reserve?
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer that 100% because my understanding is that none of it is really unallocated as such. So I need to take that one away and analyse it more. And I think that would come out anyway as part of this process over the next month. We look at these budgets and reserves and scrutinise them more thoroughly. So I will take that one away.
I'm not holding myself up as a great expert in finance, least of all public sector finance. But one of the things I find difficult in the way the figures are represented is I don't really have a Scooby what projects cost. And the reason that I don't have a Scooby what projects cost is because officer time doesn't seem to be allocated to a project. So I know that Frankie has devoted a great deal of time to the Compass Point project, but that never seems to be represented as a cost against the Compass Point project. I know that there's a great deal of officer time associated with Lord's Court, but Lord's Court doesn't appear to be indebted against that officer time. So although it's an old broken record, I think moving forward, if we as members are to get a handle on what things actually cost the good people of North Cornwall, there has to be at some point at least ballpark allocations of officer and staff time. Because if there isn't, it becomes meaningless. Because Compass Point has actually cost the good people of North Cornwall, or Bude-Stratton, a considerable amount more money than they think it has, because it's cost Frankie's time and others' time. And Lord's Court, for all that I believe that Lord's Court is a brilliant investment for the community, we need to be transparent with the community about what it's costing.
Yeah.
And if at some point we decide as a body that we don't want to be dipping into reserves for it and we need to be making loan applications, then again, we need to understand what it's actually costing us. So that would be the kind of generic point I would make about the whole process moving forward.
Just a point of clarity for my own understanding. What's section 137?
Yeah, so that's it's a mechanism which is normally superseded by the fact that we've now got general power of competence. So it's a way of kind of allocating funds to that sort of community groups and things. But it's a way of recording things, but actually now we don't really need to be using that anymore because we've got general power of competence. So it's a bit of a historic thing, and actually going forward, I think we remove that from the accounts because it's not relevant in the way that it is for small councils.
Well, there was something possibly not covered by the agenda item, but there's one thing I did wonder about the Locks Code. Obviously, I wasn't party to the conversations of Simon, and I'm just slightly concerned about the suggestion that the only way to save a post office in Stratton was to buy Locks Code.
Who suggested that?
It was, I thought I heard it mentioned earlier on, but if I got it wrong.
No, when I answered Darky, I said we were asked by the people of Bude-Stratton, or Stratton primarily, to save their post office, and that we did. I didn't say it was the only game in town.
Okay. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I didn't, like I just said, that wasn't meant to be inflammatory. It was just looking for information because I wasn't party to the discussions. So was there any other possibilities considered at the time?
Yes,
Yes.
well, several detailed. Tom, we're on a financial report.
Yeah,
And we've got 25 minutes left. If you want to find these things out, I'm willing to give you all that information.
that's fine.
Without being rude, can we get on with the agenda?
That's fine.
There were other options. We looked at them. This was the most viable of the options to save the post office in the immediacy required.
That's fine. But, you know, I think it's reasonable thing to bring up at some stage because
But maybe not in the Q2 reserves report. Where were we with,
Yeah, we're noting the, these financial reports.
okay. And did we have all of these? Right, so. Yeah, I propose we note them and agree to move the reserves with, you know, the extra questions following. Yeah, about the end, yeah.
Okay, I would say that, you know, I keep asking about the change in the format of the spreadsheets and hoping that I'm not going to have to keep asking that every time we see them.
Yeah, that again, slightly working for this. So I did, attended a demonstration with RBS, who provide financial services, software systems too. Yeah, a lot of, about 10% of the town parish councils in the country with the RFO yesterday. And it was, I very much like the reporting, the reports that are generated, and I've used the system before, and I think they're more accessible. I still want to talk through with the RFO how she feels about it in terms of transitioning from the system that she's familiar with to a new system. So that is all being discussed as we speak.
Thank you.
Those on the table.
Second.
Okay, all in favour? That is unanimous. To agree a £2,000 payment to the Bude Community CCTV towards replacement hardware. Lovely. I think this was yours as well, Peter, as your sort of our CCTV rep.
Yeah, okay, so I'm BSTC CCT rep, so I go to their meetings on a regular basis. So Bude-Stratton Town Council has always maintained a crime and disorder budget. That budget has often been requested to fund some of the work and the hardware that the community CCTV group operate. And I think generally speaking, it was understood by the council that crime and disorder budget line was probably going to end up going in that direction unless something else came up urgently in a different direction. I have to say the CCTV group do really good work. I probably haven't reported as strongly as I should have done on what they do, but they do keep eyes on the streets, especially on peak evenings, on the weekends as well, throughout the summer and all throughout the winter. And having attended and observed some of the sessions there, I can say that there's an awful lot of activity that goes on in the late night economy of Bude, which surprised me. Drug dealing, odd antics going on, people being attacked, fights going on, especially outside the nightclub. Then the community CCTV system that we've got is operated by a very strong volunteer group. They do deliver way above the bucks that they use, because other groups that are operated throughout Cornwall do keep tabs on the costs that they can take, and they tend to operate at a much higher cost than ours does. Obviously, we're in a very corrosive, salty environment, and the camera systems and the poles and the tilt and zoom mechanisms that we have do succumb quite quickly to this salt environment. I know already that there are proposals for something in the region of £23,000 worth of further camera locations they would like to do, but obviously it would be inappropriate to come to this group or to this council in one go for that amount, but those proposals are something the group would like to work on. So I would commend using that budget to give to CCTV under the section 137, as mentioned just now, arrangements that we can do.
I'm keen to get them through the grant process like any other group. Because I think what we did last year was actually they went into the grants process and then we took them out after we reviewed everything together. And I feel like we should be doing the same thing. Where we shouldn't explicitly say to that group that like accounts that happen to belong to, hey, you get grant money because I can put you straight through. It feels like it. Yeah, I'd be much happier if they go through the grants policy and then we can pull them out and with the fact that we know in mind that there is this part of the budget, potentially this, and then get that to them, especially because as part of that grants policy, then it's things like making sure that they're on board with how many signatures they have, I know how much money they are asking for. It's evidence of them going up. It's also then pushing out to the community, the fact that we've helped them as well. So there's all sorts of great stuff. So it'd be a shame in some ways if we miss out on that and the local, the local public miss out on that information because they haven't gone through that traditional grants process, or at least first stab at it.
I don't think it's an either or. I think it's both, and I believe I put that in an email. I think this budget has effectively been ring fenced for them, and I think it would be somewhat strange if we weren't allocating them that budget. That doesn't then preclude them from applying separately for a separate grant to extend their work or to do extra, to do more refurbishment or whatever it happens to be. So I would take Katie's point completely on board, but I don't think it's instead of this £2,000. I think it's and as well as. And I would ask Pete to urge them to put a grant submission in for the current grant round.
Okay. Well, I think it's a no-brainer, so I'm going to propose that we agree the payment to BUCCTV. And obviously, any conversation you have with them after that about more funding, we'll deal with at the time. So, secondly, all in favour? Against? Abstain? Cool.
This is where I got the one that was wrong.
We grew 15. No new terms of engagement. View the plan of partnership. Viewed area tourist board. You declare.
I declare an interest, so I should leave.
You should leave it back. I made a note. Okay. Yeah.
Substitute.
Spelling into the room. Obviously, Sean would have given us an update, but she's unwell, and I don't know whether I offered to read one out, but I didn't get one back, and she's unwell. That's fine. Does anybody have?
No, I mean, I assumed that I'd be here tonight and they'd be able to give us some background because we haven't really had anything, it'd be nice to understand what the difference is from before to after, whether it's a joint document. We've just had no background.
I mean,
So, yeah, so I don't know whether anyone else can supply that. So I haven't been involved myself, but I know that Deputy Town Clerk attended the meeting with both groups to sort of facilitate an improved sort of terms of engagement as on in response to requests from them. And so everyone seems to be very happy with this new arrangement. This is what's been brought to us. And it was only really to note, so just it seems that the town council is sort of helping in terms of facilitating an improved arrangement. But I really don't know very much of the detail, but it was, as I say, it's quite amicable and fine apparently.
I think one thing I would say that in general, I think a background paper for something like this would be really, really helpful.
Yeah.
The paper that we've got appears to be a paper that's been used by the internal parties of the partnership in order to have some kind of agreement. The paper is completely unclear as to what is actually the change that's happened, what the existing situation is and what the proposed change is. So there's a document which talks about a proposed change with no sense of how that, and the document is actually addressed. It says in the first sentence of it something like to persuade the programme director about the new arrangement. So it's not a document for us. And I just feel like we're sleepwalking into, we're sleepwalking into kind of giving the nod to things that we've got no real understanding about what the, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously Sean pulled out a quite late notice, which again isn't a criticism, it's just putting this into context. And my initial thought then was, without her, who is our representative there, to give this, you know, the granular detail and the nuance and answer the questions, it probably would be better deferred and dealt with when Sean, when our representative can actually present it to us, because there's no immediacy to it. We are just noting the terms of engagement.
But I do feel that we need a background, like a proper background paper from our own officers, not relying on councillors to continue writing these background papers. We had officers who were involved in that meeting, and they should be telling us what their considered opinion is about what's going on here.
Now, I'm going to propose that we defer this until a future meeting when we can get an update from our representative and a detailed paper from our staff. All in favour? Shotgun rules apply. Where are we? 16. To note town team update and governance arrangements.
I think this is too early. There's obviously been some miscommunication and mistiming, misfiring, and given the fact that I'm one of the reps in the town team and literally have no idea what's going on, I think really shows that. So I propose that actually we defer this agenda item until the town team leadership have had time to arrange a workshop with their membership. And along with us, with Bude-Stratton Town Council, and with the opportunity, the town as a whole, to review their options for the frameworks to working a constitution and have a chance to examine, review and respond to our town team governance document that we presented as Bude-Stratton Town Council to them back in October.
I need another opinion of county member. Yes, madness.
Okay. I'll give everybody a chance to speak. So Philippa, Kevin, and then we'll come across to the side of the table.
Okay, so I agree as well.
Can I just say, please don't second this so that we can vote until people have had the chance to talk. Sorry to interrupt you, Philippa, but it is an important one where we don't just shotgun a vote onto the table. This needs careful consideration. So there is a proposal on the table. We will come back to it, but until everybody that wants to speak has had at least one chance to speak, please don't second it.
Okay. So I'm not seconding it, but I am saying that I agree that we should be looking to defer this agenda item until we've had a chance to discuss, until the town team has had a chance to discuss changing its structure and come back to the SDC with a proposal, which includes suggestions on how the new team structure will actually operate. So not just telling us we're thinking about creating a CIC, but how will that operate? How will the leadership of that, the directorship of that CIC be employed? How will the voting work? How will the procurement work? How will the choracy work? There's a big number of questions, and I want to say that I'm really disappointed that by wording this agenda item in this way, against the requests of the councillors who are BSDC reps on the town council, we've effectively been prohibited from discussing a proposal that would have enabled us to consider what principles we'd like the town team to take into account when it begins those discussions. When we're in a situation now where there's a document, the document which is about principles, which hasn't been ratified by full council. It's not going to be ratified by full council today. because it's not on the agenda and we can't do that, we can't ratify it. So therefore, we are now talking about a situation where we're going to ask the town team to go and provide us with a document. It's going to come to us and we're going to say, no, guess again. No, you didn't get it right. We haven't told you what we're thinking. We haven't told you what we want to see, but now we want you to go back. So in fact, instead of being proactive and constructive and helping the town team members to move this forward, we're stuck now in a situation where we've delayed the whole process of the town team getting the constitution ready by at least a month, because we haven't been enabled to actually vote on our own feelings about what the principle should be. So I think we've wasted a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of goodwill on this topic, when instead we could have just been voting on what we believe should be the principles under which the town team should be working. We could have given that to the town team as our considered view, and they could have gone away, produced a constitution, and then we could have voted on it. And to be honest, I feel like the town clerk is more relaxed about the details of how this relationship will work in the future than I am. I'm not relaxed about that. And I think that we as councillors personally face legal and financial jeopardy should we allow town team to set up in a way which makes us derelict in our duty of being the democratic oversight for this organisation. So, you know, again, I would reiterate, I think we need to defer until we get a more comprehensive proposal from the town team. But I think it would be very constructive of us if we could actually agenda onto a suitable committee the document about our own views on the principles, and we could actually get that to the town team so they're not wasting time trying to guess what we actually want.
Happy to amend my proposal to adding the document to a committee to get ratified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to my usual thing of the elephant in the room, and the triangle project, which kind of first drew people's attention to the town team. Now, I did some research at the time, and my understanding at the time, which I confess may have been flawed, but this was my full understanding, was it was the role of the town team to produce shovel-ready projects, ideas for shovel-ready projects. And it was the role of the town council to be a gatekeeper for those projects. And the town council could say, yeah, and wave them through to the next stage of applications for funding, or say, no, sorry, don't want this, think again. And I'm quite happy with that structure. I think the structure of the town team doing blue sky thinking, the town team not necessarily having meetings in public, having business representatives that perhaps don't want to put their head above the parapet and say that Queen Street should be pedestrianised or whatever, I think it's all great. But at some point, then there's a democratic oversight. And for all our failings, we represent a form of democratic oversight. And I believe that we should be that gatekeeper. But what I don't believe that we should be is completely in control of the town team and setting their agendas and telling them what to do. So from my point of view, it's almost irrelevant how the town team is constituted, as long as it is quite clear within that constitution that we perform this gatekeeper role. So for me, this document is doing two things badly. Number one, it's meddling in the concerns of the town team too much and trying to tell them too much how to constitute themselves. And number two, it's not making it quite clear that ultimately we are the gatekeepers around this thing.
I've put you in mind already.
Yeah, I just want to respond to that and say thank you for that input, because that is the kind of discussion I think that we should be having. We should be actually looking through the document and working through it and deciding what we actually want and how we want the town team to operate. But the way this agenda item has been put to us has not given us the opportunity to do that, which is, as I say, for me, the most disappointing part. Thank you.
Peter, you have your hand up next.
Yeah. There's been a whole load of anxiety over the last few days, and I've tried to engage with Mr. Pearce, fellow councillors, and to try to give a satisfactory explanation as to how I think it's operating and how I think that maybe we're getting over anxious about some of the things that we think in the past aren't. And there's a whole lot of chicken and egg situation going on here, because the town team, like any group, will evolve over time. And I think fairly recently, after the town team, the chair and vice chair and myself met with the economic portfolio holder, Louis Gardner, and just chatted through some of the things and insights and the work that we've done and how we felt things might move forward. He suggested to the three of us that actually looking at a CRC might be quite a good idea, because it would allow a different way of working. Right? So what the chair and vice chair did was to write a report of that meeting up fairly quickly, and I think it went out on the 30th of October. And I think within that paper, it did say fairly clearly, from my recollection, that this is being seen as an option, but it's going to have to go in front of the town team group as a whole. Right now, I need to be really firm on this. The town team, that is not the chair, not the vice chair, not me as the interested Cornwall councillor, but the town team, its membership is the group that makes decisions. Right, it's not anyone else, it's the group. That's it, and that's really important to understand. And I think that maybe we have been sort of believing that decisions being made behind closed doors by a very few people, when in fact they haven't. And I think that might be, yeah, perhaps we could say that the communication perhaps might have intimated that, when actually, if you look at it really carefully, it doesn't mean that. And I'm being generous as much as I can be at this point. But I personally really do not believe that you're going to have decisions made behind closed doors. It's a decision of a group. And that when Katie, you said you have absolutely no idea what's going on, well, you had the email on the 30th of October, which laid all that out. You are, right, and I'm sorry, through the chair, that's the way I meant to do this, but both you and Philippa are members of the town team, the same as any other member.
Yeah, it's
And you
weird
have
how we
access to
weren't
the same
invited
stuff.
to that grants meeting, like,
But-
that wasn't a decision. That grants meeting was a decision. That was 3 people. Like, it could have gone to, hey, we've got this opportunity membership. Maybe we can come together about what we'd like and what we're after. And someone who might be really good at pitching, for example, might actually come up with really great presentations. Someone that has some relative experience might be able to come up
Right,
with
that's
it
cool.
and get more
Right, well,
money. So,
you've made your point, and to be fair, I'm also a member of the town team. I have no idea that meeting thing.
So that meeting was not open to the membership of the town team. It was the chair and the vice chair having an informal meeting with the economic portfolio holder of Cornwall. Because I'm a Cornwall councillor on the patch, I'm able to do that. Chairs and vice chairs of all groups probably have informal meetings with people, with the stakeholders, on a very regular basis, and then report back. No decision point was made. All that happened was the portfolio holder looked through the work that was presented in draft format and said, yes, you're doing exactly the right thing. However, you're late to the table of doing it. And here are the next funding opportunities which you might want to be thinking about. And by the way, when you're ready, and the town team does authorise it, there's 12.5 grand in the pot waiting for you. Right, so you couldn't have the whole town team attend a meeting of that nature.
the whole town team, you just tell them beforehand.
Well, again, that is the decision of the chair and vice chair. But I think it's largely irrelevant, and I don't know whether you're expecting priority treatment over above any other member of the town team.
I would actually rather be emailing and CCing everyone who's part of the town team for every discussion that I have with the leadership, because I think in some ways that would be much better. Like, everyone will know then exactly what's going on, and because they're part of this thing. Like, if there was anything like that in terms of my COC or my business, I'm talking to everybody about there's this potential opportunity. like, I'm going for it. Do you think this is okay, guys? Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll go for it. Like, even if it's just it's a courtesy thing of teamwork. That's all. And yeah, of course we've got it. Yeah, of course I don't know what's going on. I don't understand.
I think to boil this down to a salient point, you're at 5 to 9 now.
Yeah, well,
Um,
let me try and finish my point.
Yeah.
The town council's met informally to create a paper, which I think the town team has had sight of that paper. And I think that's a very valuable process, because it means the town team, when they go away to ask its members whether or not they want to incorporate into a CIC or any other appropriate body that may be under consideration, they will consider those framework that's been laid out by the town council. They will also consider the input from all the other members, such as Mr. Pierce, who may well have something to say about the groups that he represents. And having had oversight of creating various different community-based companies, he probably will be very, very valuable. No, it's not probably, will be very, very valuable in helping us through that process. And I'm absolutely sure of that already. When we talk about democratic oversight and the point that Kevin made, I just want to give a word of caution, right? Because sat around this table, we don't control everything that happens in the town. There's plenty of stuff that happens outside of our purview. And I think it's reasonable to expect that a town team quite often may well be dealing with these things. And I think I did mention that in one of my emails, that perhaps if the town team wanted to do a little bit of a project with Bude-Stratton, it wouldn't need to have to go through a gatekeeper of Bude-Stratton Town Council. Why would it want to do that? If it wanted to apply for some grant funding from Cornwall Council to do some shopfront improvements, which incidentally is one of the things that could be on offer, why would it come through the town council? It would come through the town council if it was delivering a project that directly affected the town council. And I'm sure that every single project, the members of the council that sit on the town team would have something to say in order to represent the town council on that body. And I think that relationship is really important. The town team is looking like it's going to be a more independent body that will have representatives from this group on it, exactly the same as Bude Climate Partnership.
Yeah,
Sorry, before you carry on, you said every council was going to talk once, because I can see that Philippa's going to rebut some of the stuff that I'm saying.
I was going to give everybody the opportunity to speak.
What I want to say, if Philippa does rebut stuff, and I do invite that you give me an opportunity to come back.
Okay, I'm going with the people that haven't spoken yet, so I want everybody to have the chance to say something. So I think it's Steve, then Amanda. Yeah, we're going to need to, we're never going to get through it, are we? All right, I'm going to have to propose an extension to the meeting. They're ambitiously say 9:15. Okay, seconded, all in favour? Okay, Steve.
I think, I have to say before I start saying this, that I think some of the ideas from the town team are magnificent. I think the consultation has been superb, and there's I think the vast majority of stuff that I'm thinking that they're hoping to pursue, and the way that they're hoping experimental ways to pursue are just brilliant. I think that there's a good chance that they will achieve what I would hope to be a kind of common prosperity amongst the people of the town and businesses and all the potential stakeholders that are involved in that. So I think it's a massively positive thing. And therefore we have a profound responsibility as Bude-Stratton Town Council. And I had a look at this, what the town team presently is. And I was looking at the terms of reference, and the ones that I found say Bude-Stratton Town Team will be a working partnership of interested parties. It will not be a constituted legal entity of its own right. The outputs of the team will be made as recommendations to the full council of BSTC for democratic endorsement. Where funded actions are being developed or delivered, separate contracts will be formed through BSTC to deliver specific outputs. I'm not saying this is the way it should be done, I'm just saying this is where we are at this point in time. BSTC will be the accountable body. All financial arrangements will be directed by the standing orders and financial regulations of BSTC. The constitution of the town team will be subject to annual review, be conducted by the membership with any recommendations for change made to BSTC, which is perfectly appropriate. Reading those things, I'm thinking, actually, we would have to abolish the town team and reconstitute a new body. And this is a major thing. And in fact, one of the final things it says in the Constitution is the team will cease to exist upon the direction of BSTC. Should the team cease, any records or information of the town team will be the property of BSTC. So it's in the best interest of everybody that we get this right. And we can't just note this. This needs to be deferred. It either needs to be deferred and or referred to a committee, in my view. And something needs more concrete, needs to be presented to the town council as the major person in charge of the actual constitution of the town team as it is, so that we can make some kind of transitional arrangements that still manage that. I agree with Peter. This thing has to evolve. I think it's perfectly reasonable that the town team takes this on and has all sorts of operational independence. But my absolute instinct is it must remain accountable to people of Bude-Stratton through this council, who are the democratic representatives of those people, as flawed or not as that may be. So, yeah, we can note this, but well, I think we need to defer it. We either need to defer it and or refer it to committee. And let's look at this properly. This is way too important just to go, yeah, carry on, no way.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Couldn't have said it better
Say what you wanted to say.
Yeah, no, well, no, I completely agree with everything you said though. I just wanted to mention really, you know, I can remember being sat in that chair and we had the meeting here to discuss the triangle. And it was very important to me. I gave personal kind of, you know, reassurance to people at the time that the communication between us and the town team would be as open and as transparent and all those things, you know, for the people of Bude.
Yeah, no, I remember.
Yeah, and there was a lot of very worried people. So I would hate to think that, you know, we were going back on those promises of keeping it operating in a certain way. That's all.
Okay.
I'm not going to rebut what Councillor Roy said. In fact, what I'm going to say is that the document that we produced with principles in it, Councillor Colwell has said it's not clear and it's not strong enough. Councillor Roy has said it's too overbearing and it's too, you know, too much interferes. And it just highlights how important it is that we actually sit down as a council and have a discussion about this, because we've already got a situation where we've got two diametrically opposed views in terms of how we think our relationship with the town team going forward should operate. Now, I sent that document to Tony as a kind of courtesy to give him a sense of where we're going. He treated it with the contempt it deserves. He didn't reply to me. He didn't even reply to acknowledge that he'd received it. And why would he? Because it's not been ratified by this council, and he knows that. So as far as he's concerned, I presume he's just thinking, well, this is the, you know, the mad ravings of a particular person. This isn't the ratified and agreed view of this council. So that to me is the important step that this whole thing has missed. We need to have that proper discussion. We need to come to some kind of agreement about where the line is between democratic oversight and town team independence. And then we need to give the town team a proper view of that before they waste a whole lot of hours building up their constitution in a way that we are not going to accept. So it's not a rebuttal, it's a kind of acknowledgement.
Probably the best contribution contribution from the night. Seconded. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, to use one of Kevin's phrase, the horse and the cart probably got in the wrong order on this one. And I'm a member of the town team. I'm obviously mayor of the council and a councillor like the rest of you. And if I'd been said, you know, Mike, how do you want to do this? I would have had the town team meeting to take what Louis Gardner told them and what SQW have told them and sat down with the 3 town council representatives, the Cornwall council representative, and all the other members of the town team, and work through all those different recommendations and come back, not with a final product, but something loosely resembling the cart that we can then connect the horse to.
I need to, that's what they want to do.
So why are we here doing this now?
Because it's on the agenda.
Put it on the table.
Well, we've yet to work out which councillor. Yeah, so right, but with that in mind, it's a no-brainer that we just defer this. We see what they come back with, and there's a good argument that we maybe do some research ourselves. There are, if we're 25th to do this, there are 24 other councils that are further down the road to us. We could possibly explore talking to them. We could possibly set up a meeting with a few of them if they're willing.
If you can request their constitutions, you can just smush all the 24.
Well, yeah, this is what I'm getting at, is while the town team set up and have a meeting, we could also do some research of our own. I think what we all need to keep sight of, the most important thing is that there is a chance to bring good levels of funding into view, which we have been screaming for years. And we need to keep that as our primary focus and make that work. Darky, you're screwing up your face. Don't panic, mate. You might even get your dog poo signs. You never know.
I want to know why you don't get rid of this town team. They're a joke. We learned what they were like with the triangle. We learned all about that.
I haven't got time to go down this with you again now. Right, we're already in an extended session. I appreciate your input as always. But like I was saying, the salient point is we've got the chance to do something big for this town and we need to make sure we do it right. So I'm going to propose that we defer it, do some research and wait to see what the town team come back with, because I'm really looking forward to being in that town team meeting.
I mean, remember, I did put a proposal on the table already. In fact, there's one over there as well, which was. Sorry?
Mine was second, so nobody's seconded.
Yeah, but no,
Right.
what was yours?
Mine was that we defer it and refer it to a specific committee.
Yes, I will withdraw mine and I'll second yours, basically.
Corporate and democratic, if you're right. You'll be asked again.
Yeah.
But in the end, this needs to be ratified by full council.
Yes.
So we are going to have to do that piece of work.
Yeah.
Yes, the committee, we're still going to come.
Can we ensure that, like, the wording of that, when it does appear on the Cindy committee, if me and Philip can have a bit of visibility on that beforehand, because then we can. Yeah, don't want to inflame any tensions, like publicly again.
I just want to try to desperately offer a tiny bit of caution on this, right? Because the town team may well decide to leave everything as it is. And we don't know what they're going to decide, because the debate has to be had and they need to arrive at whatever position they need to arrive at. But what I'm concerned about is if the council agrees on the paper and ratifies it, it might be tying the hands constitutionally of the group before it's even started. So I think it'd be far better to listen to the group first and then respond to that. Right? And it's not going to take a hell of a long time. We've already got the framework that's been written, and the town team would be pretty silly to ignore that entirely. But they are going to take it seriously. They have to, because they know full well that if they don't adhere within reason to the expectations that the working group has laid out, it's going to struggle. So yeah, they would be pretty daft not to take them seriously.
I think there's a difference between pretty daft and actually being required. You know, I mean, I understand you're trying to say, well, you know, we're all grown-up adults here and it's a, you know, we're all in a nice little town and everybody knows each other and let's have a bit of trust and blah, blah, blah. And actually, when I sent that document to Tony, I got nothing back from him, not even an acknowledgement that I sent it to him. And that doesn't give me any faith in the fact that he's actually looking at this going, yeah, well, just trust me, you know, let's be collegiate about this. Kind of collegiateness has two ends to it. So I think we shouldn't waste the town team's time in trying to come up with something that's going to be diametrically opposed to actually what we want them to do. So I think it's a kind of parallel activity. We work out what we want, they work out what they want. We come to some agreement that sits somewhere that we're all comfortable with.
Yeah. It's going to the committee anyway, so
Yeah.
we can sort it out there.
But obviously, yeah, I can see Peter's point, because if we give them something that they deem inoperable, we don't come to a point where we meet in the middle. do we?
I mean, this is why when we sat down,
So-
we originally had a terms of reference and we scrapped all of that and just said, you know what, actually, could you just make sure that the companies and businesses involved don't compete anti-competitive behaviour and they can
Yeah.
follow like procurement. It's really general stuff like that. It's not like it's saying you have to do this, you have to do that. It's like, yeah, you have to make sure that you procure things properly and legally, please. So it's not a terms of reference we're sending them. We're sending them guidance. And like, this would be great. And that's what the wording is, and that's what's attached. But that can be discussed at the committee, basically. Like, in that process,
Okay, so
it's this
the
committee.
proposal is to defer this and see what the town team come back with.
Right, but the second one was proposed, defer.
Is simply to defer and refer it to the C&D committee.
Which I seconded.
Which you seconded, all right, well, we've got 4 minutes left, so we're gonna have to vote. All in favour? Against? Abstain? There we are. I'd love to say that's the end of the night, but we've got more. We are in the shotgun section now, though.
We did have correspondence.
To agree, response to polling stations consultation.
Yeah, so I've actually, it says Cornwall Council has sent advanced us basically if we're happy with the polling stations we've got. So I've got, that hasn't actually been circulated, but I've got them here and I was going to table it, but I'm wondering whether given time.
I propose we defer it.
Well,
Carry
there's
on,
no
carry
time
on.
to defer because
Yeah.
it's actually directly beyond the
Yeah.
deadline because this meeting should have happened last week. So as it is, you know, so if you've got any major problems, maybe if I just give one piece of names, read out polling stations, and if you are aware of any difficulties.
Polling station locations, Parkhouse Centre, Early Gallery Way, used. Stratton Community Hall, Stratton. Puffle Village Hall, Puffle, which is a new polling station. And Stratton Community Hall twice for some reason.
I'm sure Buffalo's been there before.
New polling station on there.
So it was whatever the building is further up.
Oh, right, yeah,
It's just, it's literally a few hundred yards further up the road.
yeah, yeah.
Twice was it covers kill cams.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to work out. Yeah, I know the building you're on about, I can't remember the names now. But that is the 4 locations.
Question, what happens if there's like, on polling day, if there's a flood?
Call council.
The call council's problem. Okay, that's right.
It's not a problem at 12 minutes past 9.
Return your stuff.
Okay, so what was this, agreed response to the polling station consultation board? I propose that we agree with the proposed. All in favour? Awesome, shot on the rules. Receive. Careful people. Receive updates from lead councillors or community activities and outside bodies. Fantastic. I like that. Anybody else?
I presented at the youth fund jury and I'm going to the Hill Valley meeting tomorrow.
Was it worthwhile presentation?
It was, well, hopefully it was worthwhile for the youngsters.
But were there plenty of people there, is basically what I'm saying, was there some, yeah,
The 20 children who are on the jury. And
fantastic, that's what we want. Anybody else?
There's an event which I've asked Ian to go to as well, actually, that me and Philip are going, and that's a massive, big economic improvement event in Eden Project. So, hi, that'd be awesome. I'm ready to drive everybody.
Okay. Right, we'll move on to Steve items, correspondence from the clerk. Fantastic. So now the date of the next meeting, Thursday, the 7th of December 2023. I propose we note that.
Yeah.
All in favour?
Yeah.
Against? 20 seconds to spare. Long night, good luck, people.
Thank you, Chair.